What's going on, everybody? We're back. Season 5, 2024. This is a big surprise to all of us. But we're already here with week 1. Starting off on Monty Hall. Saxry versus Mini. Hopefully you just watched an epic intro, because I haven't made one yet. I was just browsing on KCM's channel and happened upon this video, the announcement for it as well, and I was shocked, Shun. I thought that we were done for the whole year.
Yeah, I did not expect this. I thought the title was going to be 2025 Season 1 Week 1. Instead, it's going to be 2024 Season 5. What is going on? I have no idea. But yeah, it looks like Encore. The writers decided they've got enough in the budget to squeeze out an extra season between years, it seems. So just a little bit left of the year.
Yeah, I wonder what the reasoning is behind it. I looked back in my previous years of casting KCM, and since 2021, and I think before that as well, I started casting this in 2020, there was never a 5th season for any of the years previous, so pretty shocking to have a 5th season here.
I mean, it is pretty shocking. We were talking a little bit off air about how it's possible maybe they're just trying to squeeze in a season between years because they can't afford to do this both years, right? They'd run out of time, so there's no way they could have 5 seasons per year unless they get rid of the week gaps between breaks and stuff, and don't only have breaks for the holiday like you were saying. So this is really weird, the times we live in. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, maybe they're going to just skip out on or just stop skipping weeks in between seasons. Like this week, I definitely expected that it was going to be off, regardless if we were going to have another season or not, but we're just going straight on into it. We've got a 1 base build here from Mini. He's going to be playing something a little bit sneaky, possibly a reverse Sayer play, which we've seen quite a bit on this map.
Yeah, I do like for Zergs to go for, you know, just a fast patch on this map. It's very difficult to really get away with anything else. There are some technical cheesy builds you can go for on 1 base Zerg on this map. It's just not really that good, generally speaking. So most Zergs will probably be doing this style from Saxry, and hopefully we don't see triple Stargate out of Mini.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of a trend on this map. Hopefully he doesn't go for that. Saxry has actually added a gas a little bit earlier than I thought he would. Generally, players are going for the quick 3 base into Hydra play, not opting to try and tech in the early game, get that early Spire out, because the 1 base builds are so strong. Like, you're never gonna have a Spire out before this Corsair kills, you know, 2 or 3 Overlords. It's just not gonna be possible, and he's trying to go for that. So I'm a little bit afraid for Saxry. He's probably just gonna have to throw down a Hydra Den as soon as he sees this Corsair.
Yeah, I mean, it is technically forced cross, so you do have a few extra seconds before the Corsair gets to you, but it's usually, generally speaking, you're not going to have that Spire ready in time, so it can be a little bit awkward for the Zerg. But since it's a semi-island map, obviously that Ogre Zerg style very dominant, so Protoss a little bit hesitant to only go 1 singular Stargate on this map, so you will see a double up, sometimes even a triple up on those Stargates. Pretty good lucky hopping from Mini. Like, he's been immediately successful in both pylon hopping attempts.
Yeah, pretty tough to hop a probe while being chased by Zerglings, but he had just barely enough space there to throw down the pylon, and now he's got that scout checking for the 3rd base. He's able to check up there at the north. He knows that it's most likely just going to be this 2 base play with the layer that quick, but I don't know. This map gets really funky because you don't have to build as much defense in the early game. There's a lot of shenanigans and eco cheese you can get away with.
Oh, absolutely. You can min-max to crazy here. Sometimes you can get punished. I mean, Saxry's trying to be a little bit clever here by getting some lings down these lanes by hopping them over with a drone. Can be very useful to delay this expansion going up. Mini's going to try and hop a Dragoon over here to counter that. Should be good enough to deal with, unless he can mine out this mineral block quick enough. But Maybe he can get some slowdown with these Lings at least to buy him some time. But it looks like he's going to be losing 2 Overlords pretty uncontested here at the very least. Saxry, maybe even 3. So not looking too hot on his side of things because this Spire is only like 66% complete. This is not looking ideal. He's going to be losing so many Overlords, saying already down to 10 supply.
Yeah, this is the reason why I was saying earlier it's better to go, and a lot of players are finding it easier to just open with the quick 3 base into Hydralisk Den. You can deal with something like this a little bit easier, and Saxary losing all of these Overlords, it's super painful. The only thing that's going his way is that he managed to get down here, and the Dragoon wasn't able to jump over immediately, so he stopped the probe from setting up that Nexus. But I think that Mini's going to be really happy with his spot. He's got quite a few Corsairs. He's going to hit that 5-6 Corsair mark pretty soon, and then he can start to move around with that +1 coming online and just wipe out Scourge that are going to be popping out for Saxary soon.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got more than enough compensation by how many Overlords he's killed to have this Nexus be a little bit delayed. He's not too fussed about that. Now he'll have pure proper air superiority, going up to 6 Corsairs with +1. Has 5 out on the field right now. Some Scourge are making their way towards the center. Maybe they can get an intercept course on these Corsairs and snipe a few of them. The only real way of Saxary getting to a good spot right now is to not lose any more Overlords and instead to ambush these Corsairs and pick off like maybe 2 or 3 of these Corsairs, and he can start to snowball the air superiority. Then he can come back into the game. It's going to be a lot of time before that transpires. He might even be relegating himself into just turtling and trying to get a critical mass of Hydras out instead in the mid game. But he's got a few Corsairs under fire by these Scourge and Hot Pursuit, trying to get the turnaround manual micro here. Almost able to do so. Very fancy from Mini, but not able to get good connections enough to kill any. He does manage to break the ankles of the Scourge to get on an escape vector though, so it looks like they'll be getting to back of the safety of the base.
That just drives me crazy. He flew right through those Scourge and manages to get away. That's absolutely insane. If he was able to do that flick micro perfectly, it would be so difficult to deal with. These Scourge just will not connect, and now that we've got 6 Corsairs all together, +1's about to finish, this is going to get really hard for Saxary. He hasn't dealt with any of those Corsairs. Like you were saying, he wanted to get like 2 or 3 of those picked off so that he can start to take back air dominance, but it's just not working out for him. He has his 3rd base done, but the air battle is what's really hurting him right now. Can he actually get a good connection? Oh, he's trying to take this fight, but absolutely everything goes down. 1 Corsair dies. This is so brutal.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, only a singular Corsair out of 7 to about 12 or so Scourge. Not what you want. There is another pair of Scourge here to deal with this, but Mini's micro is pretty on point. It's very difficult to get the flick shot behind you, but he's got enough Corsairs now to start gunning down eggs as they hatch, so really dangerous spot here for Saxary. Currently supply blocked as well after getting a few of these Overlords sniped, so he can't even produce anything. Has a few desperate Scourge here. With some micro, though, Mini could turn the tables on this trade value. Looks like he's a little bit hesitant to do that. As long as Saxary's manually controlling these Scourge, he might still be able to get some connections with the fancy micro of Mini, so does need to be careful on both sides here.
7 Corsairs +1 is done. I don't know if we have +1 armor for these Scourge. That would help out a huge amount. He's probably going to want to get that soon. Trying to dive on top of these Corsairs, but he's just not going to get there. This is getting really scary for the Zerg player. I tell you, he spent so much money building Scourge, so much larva building Scourge. His ground army is going to be very fragile, and is like, he's got nothing here. Look at, we don't have any Hydras. We have no Hydras at all. So as soon as the ground army gets a little bit scary for Mini, once he adds on a few more gateways, oh, it's going to be a nightmare.
It's Reaver Ser.
Reaver Ser. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be wild. I mean, if Saxary can't establish air dominance now, Reaver Ser might just get away with murder. This is gonna be really rough, and then Saxary's gonna have a really hard time slowing down this 3rd base of Mini, especially if he is a little bit sneaky about it. He's starting to produce some of these Hydralisks now, but this is just when the Reaver Ser is starting to get underway. I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned for Saxary. I have a feeling Mini might dominate in this game.
Yeah, there's going to be a moment when the first couple of Reavers come across the map in the shuttle and the Corsairs are in mass, where if Mini finds a position that the Hydras can't really get to easily and manages to land his Reavers in that spot and cover the shuttle with the Corsairs, things can get super out of control. But there's always that possibility where Saxory could dive on top of the shuttle and get it immediately, shutting down this play completely, and then the entire game flips on its head. It's all going to come down to this, Shun.
Oh, this is going to be beautiful. A little auxiliary force of infantry trying to support this Reaver. Hydra's desperately trying to snipe this shuttle. They do get a good target fire on that. Might be able to get the shuttle and the Reaver here. Good target firing down from Saxory, but there's still this air force of Corsairs ripping through Overlords in the sky while the Hydralisks are distracted by picking away at these Zealots that are on the ground. Yeah, not necessarily the best attack here from Mini. Honestly, pretty stellar defense. Saxory holding his own there, managing to get a good tempo swing by getting on top of that shuttle and Reaver despite a bit of a weird situation. Now Mini needs to find something soon, or maybe Saxory can flip the script here. Already sending a long train of units down this right-hand side.
I gotta say, that was beautifully done by Saxory, just running forward on top of the Reaver and shuttle and making it impossible for Mini to just juggle the Reaver backwards and take good trades with those Scarabs. Now he's going to run forward, try to get this kill. That was not the greatest split there for Saxory. Most of his Hydras die immediately, but at least he gets the Reaver in the end. He's got more Hydras coming up as well. There's only one Zealot here. He's going to try and break because Mini's attempting to take a third base right now. He's going to pull his probes. There's only one cannon remaining, one Zealot, one cannon, a few probes left here, and dude, Saxory is breaking through. There's a possibility that he could end up losing a lot more Overlords and get supply blocked, but he is breaking this position. Mini's not going to be able to hold on for much longer unless a Reaver pops out right now. Oh, he's flying right into these Corsairs, dude.
I think he's done it. I think he's done it. There's only one Robo saying, I think he's breaking through.
Yeah, this is a nightmare situation for Mini. Oh my gosh, he goes forward, tries to pick up the Reaver there, fails. The second attempt was ill-fated. He loses the Reaver and the shuttle. Brutal end to that game. I thought Mini was doing so incredibly well, but we just saw the incredible fragility of Protoss utilizing that style. Ser Reaver is just so quick to fall apart when things start to go wrong.
I mean, as soon as that attack got thwarted, saying really impressive stuff from Saxory to flip the game on its head that quickly.
It was a little greedy for Mini to try and take a third base right at that moment as well.
Right, with just one Robo.
One Robo, and he didn't have too many cannons. That is natural. After losing the Reaver so quickly, you'd think he'd want to focus his attention on building more defenses, but he wasn't expecting Saxory to get so aggressive so quickly, and he gets overwhelmed. Pretty intense game number one. Wasn't expecting Saxory to take out Mini there, but there you have it. Gonna be going forward here against one of these three elite Terran players that's coming up right after this. All right, we are on Minstrel for game number 2. Royal spawning in the top left-hand corner. He's gonna go ahead and... Oh, wait a second. This is a 4-pool. Oh, Sean, you're gonna be so happy.
They heard me saying, oh, you mean you prayed to the Starcraft gods long enough and finally they answer your prayers. Thank you, Saxory. Hell, it's about time.
And it's a wall. So, I mean, this is so popular. This is exactly what you're talking about. Basically for, what, 4 or 5 weeks of KCM?
Yeah, non-stop. Even
Terrans
in BSL, I mentioned it.
They just love walls. They always love to do this wall in style, and it's super strong. The 1-Rex, fast expand, but one thing it's not strong against, for sure, is a 4-pool. Sending out a drone is kind of crazy to try and optimize this.
Well, it makes it look like you're 9 scouting to to avoid like an 8 racks or BBS, and it also allows you to potentially slow down the barracks even just a few seconds. It could be huge. At the very least, you're forcing more SCVs off the line, and it might just be the ticket that you need to get a little bit of a tempo edge, or at the very least delay the SCV scout of Royal just a few extra seconds to make him have even less of a time to react to get his SCVs down into his natural expansion.
Yeah, I guess it's fine too. He's able to non-stop produce lings regardless. He's gonna make the extractor to get his drone back to full HP. This is a lot of SCVs that have been pulled. We're gonna see if the theory is correct. Can he actually punch through with all of these lings? Is he gonna get a good enough trade to win this game? Diving on top, the SCVs are being pulled miraculously, holding at this wall. I don't know if this is gonna work out, Shun. This is a very good hold from Royal.
Yeah, it's a really good hold from Royal.
Just 6 SCVs in this wall, and there's still lings being produced. I don't know if this is all lings in the eggs, but if it's not, I don't know how you come back. Okay, it's just lings. He's just gonna keep going for it. And now there's 3 Marines. 4 Marines are gonna be done by the time these lings get here. I don't think this works, Jun. I don't think this is gonna end up working.
I mean, I don't think it works in this situation. It should work, Saiyan. I don't know what to say about this. This might be a little bit unfortunate. Really good response from Royal, it has to be said. He can potentially bust through with these additional lings. It is possible, but it's unlikely. Very difficult to punch through this gap with only maybe with 2 SCVs blocking. It's possible. I'm not so sure it will occur though.
Oh my god, look at that amazing control there. Just gonna repair that 1 SCV. It's not gonna happen. Well, I guess we learned a valuable lesson here today, Shun.
There's only one hole, I guess. You should. I think this is Saxry's fault, guys. I'm sorry, I'm saying that's Saxry's bad.
Well, maybe those type of situations have been gamed out a little bit too many times. It makes sense to do this on a 3 or 4 player map. I think a little bit more than Minstrel, right? Yeah. If you do this on a 3 player map, 4 player map, there's a bigger potential for the SCVs to scout in the wrong direction, and then you don't have time to pull 12 SCVs to the gap in the wall and take a fight like that. You end up getting into the base with the lings, and then things become way more difficult for the Terran player. Yeah, I feel like this is a map problem that Saxry didn't think about. The fact that he was 100% going to get scouted coming across the map with the lings.
I think this is a map problem that also needs to be investigated more with map makers. If you can't even punish a wall in with a 4 pull, I think we need to start like giving a 1 hex bigger wall in, so there's at least 2 gaps for that, rather than I don't know. It might be a map issue.
All right. Very quick game number 2. We're gonna jump into game number 3. Saxry is out. Royal goes on. Speed running through that game number 2. It's kind of hilarious to me, Shun, that you were talking about the 4 pull so long.
That's ridiculous.
And the one time someone finally pulls it out, it gets completely shut down.
That's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
I won't even hide my saltiness. I won't even hide my saltiness at that. I mean, what are Zergs meant to do? Huh? Like, come on now. Come on. I think this is map makers need to buck their ideas up. We've been throwing Terrans a bone one too many times, okay?
Maybe so. Difficult to say what would have happened if that was a different map. If it's a 4 pull on this map, for instance,
right?
I think it's a lot more likely to be successful because you have the possibility of not getting scouted with the initial SCV, and there's not a chance for the Terran player to bring everything down to the natural. But you can see that there is definitely a clear understanding for these Terran players, like what needs to be done to just survive the 4 pull, even with the wall in. It's not an instant win for sure.
Oh, you better believe these entitled Terrans know they're in balance. They just won't admit to it. That's the thing, right? This is the problem that we have. Like, they know it's OP. They just won't admit to it. They know. They've got it mapped out. They're fine. They're happy. But if anything else, anything that is like unfair for them, they'll be the first people to tell you, right? They're so outspoken.
That is true. Terran players are definitely the loudest when complaining about imbalance. It seems to me anyway. There are a few pretty loud Protoss players in the comments, you know who you are, who are complaining about the maps and the fact that Protoss hasn't won too many ASLs as of late. But yeah,
but
Terrans tend to be quite loud.
The vibe I get from the Protoss players is more like the loud worker class guy at the bar that's just like, you know, had a rough day and wants to, like, you know, let off some steam, whereas the Terran are like those real entitled nerds you get, you know what I'm saying?
the blue collar Protoss player. Yeah. I definitely I get the visual here, Shun, and I think I agree with you. We've got YSC down here, grabbing that Nexus up on his high ground. He's got the Zealot probe combo, just kind of chilling up here, waiting for a challenge from Royal, but Royal gonna wait for his Vulture and a couple of SCVs to kind of join with this army, be able to push this back more successfully, more quickly. And in fact, he gets it off his own high ground before the Vulture pops out, which is fantastic. There's the Dragoon. This is the strong combo. The Dragoon, Zealot, and Probe combo is kind of a funny special forces combo of units that will do very, very well against early Marines, but with good targeting onto the Zealot, he's able to pick that off, not allowing it to get too much DPS. Kills the Probe as well. This is really good control from Royal.
Yeah, the probe actually gives you a little bit more tankiness because obviously there's 20 HP and 20 shields added to the party, but the real help is the particle beam does 5 damage a shot, so if you can get 2 hits off on a Marine, it's helping that Dragoon kill it in just 1 less shot, so it really does help in those little early game trades. Sometimes you can pick off enough Marines before the bunkers finish that he then feels like he has to replace the Marines, and that's obviously a bigger investment for him, getting compensation from that probe. Those trades, though, pretty much went Royal's way, so I would say Royal's pretty happy about his early min-max.
Absolutely. Great control by him. The problem is when your Marines and Vulture are kind of splitting their shots, hitting different things, and the Zealot does the most damage out of anything in that early game, right? It's doing so much per hit. He targets that down right off the bat. It only gets like 1 strike and goes down, so very nicely min-maxed by Royal. He's gonna get a mine down behind these Dragoons as well. YSC's gonna walk right into that. Might take a bunch of damage on both Dragoons. Ooh, that was a really rough hit.
Yeah. I mean, it was a full-on connection on one of the Dragoons and a pretty good connection on the other one. Really suboptimal from him. And we have a very nicely placed proxy starport setting himself up for a Vulture drop later on. That could spell disaster from YSC if he's not prepared for it. And the timing of it makes me think that he might be thrown off because he'll be thinking he's safe for like half a minute or two. See that there's no starport with the Observer, think he's completely safe, and then the dropship will come in right at the off timing, which might throw him off it.
Yeah, this is pretty sneaky from Royal. It's very unlikely that YSC will find that. That's not in a very optimal location, like maybe down bottom right, one of those spaces. Hiding the starport might be a little stronger, but just having it out on the map at all means that when the Observer comes into the main base and sees the factories and doesn't see a starport, he's gonna maybe discount the fact that there's a possibility of a drop coming in, and then Royal can actually get some good damage. We're about to see that Observer come out. It's heading across the map now. There are some Dragoons in the main, but we'll see if YSC pulls his Dragoons out of that main base and stops defending once he sees what's inside Royal's main.
I mean, the main issue is that this dropship will come in at a slightly weird time. It won't come in at a normal time. It'll be ever so slightly delayed, so he might like think he's okay because the timing hasn't hit, and then his Observer scouts just at that moment and he thinks, he's okay, but he's checking for a lot of mines right now, so he won't actually scout inside Royal's base for quite some time, which actually might help him because it'll make him more careful about the possible range of play from Royal because he doesn't have confirmation, so he might still be considering the Vulture drop as a potential just because he hasn't scouted his main yet.
Well, he's just pulled all of his Dragoons out of his main. It's completely naked at the moment. There's some tanks moving out of the map, which I'm a little bit confused about. They're actually going to turn around and head back home, setting up in the natural. Royal going to come running out here, set some mines up behind this. This is great heads-up play for Royal. Right as the drop comes in, and chaos ensues in the Protoss main base, we're going to have... Oh, God. Oh, hold on a moment. This bunker may end up going down. This bunker is so low, it does go down. There's so many Dragoons out here at the front. He's going to go for the drop inside the main while this is going on. But YSC is just dealing so much damage. Okay, this is actually pretty good body blocking from these SCVs. But now going to jump on top of the tanks. One tank goes down. Bunch of probes going to fall inside this main. Another tank falls. One mine going to get placed down here. Oh my goodness, all of the Dragoons end up falling. It's not even going to be YSC pulling back his Dragoons into those mines. Instead, he runs straight in. He gets a pretty reasonable trade with a lot of these tanks. And he actually blocks the ramp going up into the natural so that Royal can't deal any damage. Oh man, he loses the dropship as well. This kind of went YSC favored, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. Those weren't sharp vultures or speed vultures by any measure. He did not manually target hardly any probes. Only a few of the gas probes went down quickly because of the vultures are on the right-hand side of the nexus. Most of the probes were able to evacuate to the natural expansion, so he didn't really take that much economic damage, but he killed so many tanks, Saying.
A lot of tanks went down there. You can see that Royal was just not ready for that timing whatsoever. He didn't have siege mode done, and he wasn't quick enough to pull the SCVs over to the bunker. He saw that he was like moving his tanks out in a weird way right before that attack came in. Everything was just a little bit off for Royal. It wasn't quite organized well enough. This was a very well thought out and decent setup for Royal. I thought that he was going to do a lot of damage and potentially not take much back at home, but things kind of went wrong there, and now it's going to get really tough as this Reaver comes in.
Yeah, I mean, luckily he has a pretty good turret setup, has one of these siege tanks sieged up out there as like a bare necessities, and does have these two pretty strategically placed mines off to the left-hand side. Maybe he'll detonate that. Oh! I think he managed to avoid the hit there. Like, really quick pickup from YSC. He has to be confident like Snow with his micro to be able to detonate that mine and not take damage from it. It's a very tight window to get that, like 1 or 2 frames. Very difficult to do, but as you can see, he seems to be pretty confident with doing it. YSC much more confident with his shuttles than we saw previously. Gone is the days where the shuttle would just run in and die for free. We finally see a little bit of Snow-like confidence out of him.
Yeah, I remember those days. YSC donating his shuttle into the Terran base. Not anymore the case. He's ready for this drop. I'm surprised that we're seeing this follow-up drop. Oh, he gets the kill! As it's coming in, only one vulture landing in behind these mineral patches, and I think it's stuck. Like little doodad there.
It is.
Gonna prevent him from running away. Looks like the Dragoons are gonna take some time, so he managed to get like 3 or 4 kills. 4 kills on this vulture, which is kind of crazy. 5 kills, in fact, which is actually reasonable damage for that drop, but he almost shut that down perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised with YSC. Like, recently he's been playing so much better, right? Like, once upon a time he would just fall apart at the seams and just seem to, I don't know if it was a confidence issue or consistency when playing like in a live event or whatnot. I don't know exactly what was going on, but he never seemed to play this consistently before. But recently he's had like the last season or so, he's had a very much stronger showing, and I've been really impressed with him.
Yeah, talking about recently, like you're talking about just the last few weeks of KCM alone, right? He showed up big in the semifinals, and we were both very surprised, but he's looking really good now in this game. And Royal is, I mean, kind of submitting to the fact that he's going to need to go for a longer game now. He's lost too many tanks. He's going to try and secure that third and get into, late game macro. He's going to have that science facility finishing up soon and continuing those upgrades, but he's not going to be ending this game anytime soon.
Yeah, I like that Royal's just going straight into the gas expansion as his third. Doesn't want to risk this mineral only. It's just not valuable enough. He needs that gas critically. It will be slightly harder to hold this position. These pizza slices are very challenging. A little bit scary for the Terran player to go up and down these slices without knowing where the Protoss army is exactly. You can just walk into your death if you walk unsieged up a hill and suddenly there's Dragoons there raining down on your tanks and you're fighting low to high. It can just be a game over for you. So can be a little bit daunting to move out as Terran on this map, but Royal needs to just keep on top of the scans, keep an idea on where the army movements are based on the mines being cleared up on the map, so he needs to keep laying down those. If he can hold on to this third base for some time, maybe there's a little bit of hope for him, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but I don't know, I'm liking YSC's chances here.
Well, the way I've seen so many Terran players try to approach this map is by taking those pizza slices, but I've also seen Light show a very impressive game plan, a very impressive strategy where he pushes directly into the middle of the map and then crawls out onto the pizza slices from the middle and just kind of tempts the Protoss player to engage into him with all of those walls and cliffs surrounding the army. It's so hard to get in there and take a decent engagement, and he seems to be able to take insanely efficient trades against Protoss armies by utilizing that strategy and just pushing into the middle rather than trying to take these high grounds that are considered so valuable for Terran in most games.
It just shows how valuable the center of the board is, like in chess. Even if there isn't a bit of minerals there to like supplement your income for some vultures, still so valuable just to take that positionally. This little poor man's recall going to be coming to the main base though. 3 speed shuttles. There is quite a significant amount of mines and turrets to deflect this, but the vultures are going to be in position as well. But there's 2 Reavers that are popping out. They could be doing a lot of damage here, but so far Royal is in position to do a lot of cleanup very quickly. Only 3 or so SCVs going down to that Sonic Storm, and it killed itself in so doing. So I don't know if this is that much value here for YSC. It's not bad, but honestly, all it's doing is sandbagging the Terran's progress. This isn't the kind of probably value he was looking for. And he didn't even clean out the turrets, so can't make further attempts easier either. So this isn't really what YSC wanted. This is a little bit of glimmer of hope for Royal if he can keep trades occurring in this sort of manner.
Look at what YSC's been building behind this. How many zealots do you need?
So many.
That is so many zealots. Not a lot of Dragoons in this army, but he's definitely going to try and ram it down. Royal is just going to have to deal with a massive zealot shuttle army. He just threw away 3 shuttles, so he's not going to have as much dropping out on top of that force, but he is going to go for it now. 199 supply. You don't just sit here with this many zealots and not attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 bases to 3 as well. The Protoss is well positioned. He knows that the Terran desperately now needs to secure this mineral only, or at least another base to have any hopes at keeping up with the Protoss while he's in this high gear. 3 versus 4 is not too bad. 3 versus 5 is extremely awkward for the Terran player. I mean, you can technically survive, but you'll eventually lose out because the Protoss player will just expand and take the entire map and outproduce you. And now we see Royal scrambling to take this mineral only desperately, and now YSC wants to punish. Wants to get on top of this pizza slice while the army's fluid in another position on the right hand side. 4 speed shuttles raining down some units to draw the fire of the tanks while he comes up onto this position. There's so many gateway man units here, pure infantry of zealots, dragoons, and high templars supporting with splash damage from the shuttles. There's a science vessel here as well, not enough energy to really do anything. Big massive clump of siege tanks will force YSC to tuck tail and run. Most of his army being dried up here, currently even on supply, which probably means he doesn't want to continue fighting this. Maybe he wants to try and skirmish with the SCVs mining with some sonic storms, but shouldn't really be pushing the issue here.
He is just going to back away for now, dropping a few zealots into the main base, going to pick off a tank or 2, cause a bit of a distraction here in the main. He has a ton of Templar, and these tanks are so stacked up. I'm really afraid for Royal. If this next round of zealots makes its way to the front and just runs up on these tanks, is he going to be able to get those big storms in the back line and take over this position? Royal is very reliant on holding this frontal base, but he's got a really good supply right now in order to hold that. 169 to 176 is looking pretty decent. More poor man recalls into this main base is kind of hilarious. He's actually opened the position a lot. got rid of most of these turrets and mines, and now he's actually going to keep dropping stuff into that main base while Royal heads around the map to try and deal some harassment damage of his own. 3 cannons is not quite enough for this many vultures.
Right, especially not with upgrades, say. I mean, if they were 0-0, they would still probably just barely win. So with upgrades on these vultures, the +2 weapons and 1 armor just makes them so much more DPS efficient with that +2 damage. It is explosive damage, so they do not do true damage to hull, but they do true damage to shields. So they will shred through the shields, but takes a long time to get through that armor usually until they get those upgrades. Now they can actually kill buildings, so they become a lot more scary raiding around the map in their high numbers. Yeah, I don't know, like Royal suddenly looking like he can just completely flip the script on YSC yet again here. See more attempts of poor man's recalls into the main base. He's pretty desperate in keeping the pressure on Royal. I'm not sure it's going to bear him the fruit that he thinks it will. Not really killing a lot of SCVs with these storm drops, just 1 or 2 here and there, and then not really trading out very well on the unit. Oh, that's a better storm in the natural expansion. If we can get some sonic storms away from the main base and instead some of these other expansions, that'd be much better for him.
I think he likes to keep this position open. He wants to keep this position open because if you keep dropping back there, you can actually storm over the wall and hit all of these SCVs at the 4th base, which could be devastating. But he's got a lot to worry about with this army coming across the map, and he doesn't have any vision on this at all. I can tell you, he's going to be completely surprised when he sees all these tanks standing right there, just outside of his rally point. A bunch of mines going to get laid down. Oh my god, these tanks are so stacked. It's going to be insane. These storms are crazy, Shun. So much of this army is going to get killed, but actually in the end, the Zealots are pushed back. Dude, a lot of these tanks are super low right now.
Well, he was lucky that these high tempers that are now showing up were a little bit out of position. If they were there like a few seconds ago, I think all those tanks would have died. But it was only like 1 or 2 high templars that were even in range to attack them at that moment. So had to tuck tail and run. Isn't looking too healthy on supply. Has a lot of utility, but Royal has a pretty significant amount of meat to his army, and he's able to force trades using defense matrix. So some of these storms aren't really finding the value they want. So he goes to storm a tank and it just gets D-matrix, and that saves it. And now Royal kind of like having some valuable time, a lot of oxygen to get out onto the map and start putting pressure onto some of these bases. Now that puts YSC on the clock, he's forced to keep trading with the Terran head on now, which is not what you want as a Protoss player, especially when you're behind in supply.
Look at this angle from Royal. He's doing a great job holding the center, hiding around these high grounds, these cliffs, utilizing them to pretty good effect. It's going to be hard to dive into that, and he's keeping a bunch of Goliaths in this army as well to just continue to shove back the shuttles, which have been, you know, key with this this type of style to actually break these tank lines. He's not allowing them to just indiscriminately land Zealots on top of everything. Now YSC moving around the army is trying to get into a position where maybe things aren't as well defended. He's coming forward with these shuttles, going to try to drop on top of a bunch of these tanks that are being reinforced. He actually kills off a lot of those, but he loses his Templar to just a single mine, and the tanks are actually going to hit this 4th base. YSC is in quite a lot of trouble. Royal is eclipsing him in supply, taking control of this game. I really do feel like YSC kind of fell apart with his macro a little bit earlier on when things were getting a little bit insane. When he was doing those drops and trying to attack in after he maxed out the first time, he gathered up a ton of money but wasn't really hitting his macro cycles and following up like someone like Best, who could just overwhelm you with the macro rounds just flowing out of the base the entire time. It felt like he just lost momentum in this game, and now Royal has seized that momentum and he's starting to roll around this map, taking out bases left, right, and center.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Sam. Unfortunately, Royal's like championship demeanor kind of shining through here a little bit and kind of outdoing YSC's experience level. Not really up to par. Oh, beautiful EMP as well, not connecting with those high Templars. This is seriously rough for YSC. Just unable to find value at any junction at the moment. He's never going to be able to get ahead on supply again. He's either like equal on supply or just trickling behind. Royal has just been non-stop pounding him as soon as he's got this 4th base under control, and I guess that's why he was so desperate in getting up into that position. But like you say, he doesn't have the finesse and tactical know-how of Best to just know when to commit to these attacks and to have the powerful macro behind it to get it actually done. Instead, we see these desperate attempts from him to try and take some positional advantages with these pizza slices, but unable to really accomplish much by it just because he's winning out on the numbers game is Royal, just by how far ahead in supply he is.
Yeah, he's gonna get in range to cast a couple of storms. They're doing a good amount of damage, but there's another great EMP. Royal deciding to utilize the EMP rather than that D-Matrix. Both are great tools against the storm. YSC being pushed back on all fronts. He's having a very difficult time making any progress towards this base over in the top right. Royal setting up a bunch of mines to just slow down any excursion moving up into that position. I want to mention his starport up in the top right is still not scouted. That thing has just been sitting there pumping out science vessels the entire game. Science vessels and dropships is what that starport's been making, and now we're hitting that max supply. Royal is going to slowly move towards this middle and start to choke out YSC. There's really no way for YSC to take the right hand side of the map any longer.
I mean, Royal's been finding so much value across the board. The only time those the vessels weren't providing value were when they were dematrixing tanks that were being killed so quickly because he had so many of his own tanks splashing them, but that's just a representation of how strong his army was due to how many tanks there were. So really, with the only time that his units weren't providing value, which was when he had too many units.
Yeah, that can be the case with Terran. Having just too many units to micro and move around the map, sometimes that's a hindrance. It's not as easy to utilize your units as it is for Protoss to just A-click an army into your opponent's tanks and vultures, especially if they are, you know, uncontrolled. Both armies being uncontrolled, all things being equal, the Protoss army will take victory. There you go. He finds it.
Oh,
there it is. Right before he taps out, he's gonna find that.
I mean, I would like to think that YC's smiling a little bit after finding that starport, and he's like, finally I found it. At least I can GG out of this game knowing what happened and knowing exactly where it was. I mean, that's something. He's gonna be a little bit frustrated with how this game has gone, but maybe that's a small moral victory for him to lick his wounds after this game closes out, because even though he's currently even on supply with Royal, it's gonna be very difficult to end this game. He's kind of counting on Royal making a mistake. Like, the only way Royal's really losing this game is if YSC just plays standard and somehow Royal makes some big mistakes. But he is coming into this base killing a lot of SCVs. He's hoping Royal will turn around and send a lot of army to deal with this. He doesn't want Royal to come out and challenge him onto the map. He wants to do a counterattack onto the mineral only while pulling the army out of position to the top right quadrant. So far, Royal's not really done anything with his army in terms of turning around, so he might be able to get here and defend this pretty quickly.
Yeah, Royal's gonna turn everything around and head back to defend. Maybe he gets some really good storms on the retreating army. Those some pretty decent storms, but a D-Matrix comes out to deal with that. A lot of SCVs have gone down over here at the 5th base. Even more are going to fall over at that 4th, and the Nexus down here at 6 o'clock may end up going down as well, but this is not a huge amount of damage to YSC's economy. I would like to see Royal split off those tanks and actually take out the base down at bottom right as well. So this storm could be huge. He's coming up the ramp. He's got the energy for it. He's going to cast it on the ramp. He does get all of the vultures, but those SCVs will get away. That was kind of a mix-up. I'm not sure if Royal is still that far ahead anymore. It's everything's been thrown up in the air. A great move by YSC to just kind of mix things up now that we're in late game. I mean, attacking that army head on would have been instant death, and he found like the one way for this game to continue.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Royal's technically doing okay on paper, but YSC has created enough chaos to climb here, unfortunately for Royal. There is now much more oxygen for YSC in this game. It did look very hard for YSC to win a moment ago. Now it's not quite as hard of a thing to envision. position. We still have a lot of paper advantage for Royal to work with, though. He has good position and has a lot of tanks and has managed to establish himself on this mineral only on the 3 o'clock. So if he can use that as a little outpost to push out YSC from this corner of the map as well, he will win out on bases. So just needs to hold the game state and stop this base from going up. Beautiful storm drops though from YSC, killing so much of the economy of Royal. It might be enough to put a dent in him to finally get an advantage.
Yeah, he is bursting ahead in supply for the first time in quite a while. 40 supply advantage. I think he needs to do another move though. Like, he can't just take a straight up fight with the army.
Right.
Even though he's got this little bit of a supply advantage, he needs to do another move like he did a little bit earlier, where he gets the Terran army out of position and forces him to walk unsieged tanks into some of these storms. That's the way I think that he'll be able to win this game if he ends up winning it. Royal is just gonna sit though with his defensive position and not move for a little bit longer. He's waiting for a higher supply to start to push out across the map and take a fight.
I like this from YSC more, where he's already got some Templars in position on the northern flank in case there's an opportunity to attack, rather than pushing up into there with your units and waiting for the Templars to catch up while you're already engaging with your forces, and they're not even there to position to storm yet. So I like this more like cautious approach from YSC, like setting himself up to exploit that position once he now does some like jabs over here on the right hand side of the map to kind of blindside Royal. He's now going to commit more of his forces over to this right side of his map, and then he's going to go with his army on the left.
That is so many tanks over on that right hand side. He's going to go on the left, try to get on top of this rally point. There's a few tanks over the wall which are pretty well positioned, raining down on these Dragoons. Some good storms come out on some of these tanks, but the Vulture reinforcement from the right hand side is actually going to defeat everything here. And Royal, I mean, he's just taking great trades now with his fully maxed out army. All of the upgrades are here. Gonna go ahead and unsiege a lot of these tanks, trying to not splash his own tanks down, but YSC actually gets a reasonable trade with that shuttle, and he's looking towards this natural once again, looking for where Royal is not strong and trying to hit him where he can without taking on the bulk of the army of Royal. This is a great trade as well, killing off a ton of SCVs there. I'm not sure that it's enough. It really does feel like Royal has the tank number to take this one home.
Yeah, that you're not only right about that, but YSC's not really mining. Like, this base at 6 o'clock's not mining. This base in the top left's not really mining. The only real mining base is this one in the bottom right quadrant. And whereas Royal has got this base in the top right, and potentially this third mineral only as well. YSC trying to surge into Royal's mineral only here on the right hand side, but there's just so many tanks. He may lose this command center if he does target it down, but the Dragoon losses will not be palpable. It will be palpable for him to have to bear. Because he has still got this command center up here, but and YSC's not mining really. Like I say, like this 6 o'clock base not mining, and this other base not mining. Only one real mining base for YSC, whereas Royal's kind of sitting comfortably on 2, even after losing that CC.
Why is he not mining at 6 o'clock? I feel like he built that Nexus. He rebuilt that a long time ago.
I think he just forgot to send probes back there. He's just been tunnel visioning on doing other things.
That is a shame. He's got another base going up at the top left-hand corner. He's gonna saturate that now, but yeah, I think you're right. He definitely tunnel visioned a little bit too hard during this moment of chaos when he was trying to climb that chaos ladder, as you talk about. He made a lot of problems for Royal, but he created problems for himself as well, and that he just didn't have enough attention to deal with all of the stuff he was trying to do while taking these bases and saturating these mineral lines at the same time. He's managed to clear out the tanks that were attempting to kill the bottom right. He's got some mining going on the top left. He's got 6 o'clock. He's technically on 3 base economy right now, but Royal just has so much moving forward. He's 20 supply ahead. He's going to be able to bring forward a bunch of units to actually kill this location, and I just don't know if YSC can challenge the army head on to stop this from happening.
Not really, saying he hasn't got enough zealots to tank for these dragoons to really do the damage they need to, unfortunately, especially late game when the Terrans already got their 3/3 upgrades. They just outscale the Protoss army in every metric. It's really unfortunate. Not really much can be done now from YSC unless he somehow manages to catch Royal with his pants down. Royal's not usually the kind of guy to get caught off guard so easily. He's usually really on top of his army fluidity and keeping like his science vessels to hand to either D-Matrix in response to storms or to EMP units that are a little bit exposed. So usually Royal always on top of things. Like we see here, this army just staying on siege so that he can respond to threats. So there'll be a few siege tanks in position, then he like scans around the map, sees where the army's moving, and if they're moving to the left, then he moves his tanks over to the left, and if they're moving to the right, he moves his tank over to the right, and you just stay fluid in your army as Terran at this point in the game. And usually if you maintain game state, split the map in half, you'll come out on top.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't allow the bases over at center right, and it seems like he's got pretty good control over there, laying some mines and having his tanks in position. As long as he prevents those bases from being taken by YSC, we should end up in a mine out situation where YSC is going to run out of minerals down at the 6 o'clock, and he won't have the economy to challenge Royal any longer. So Royal, like you said, maintaining game state here. He's just going to continue to rotate back and forth, watching YSC's army, not pressuring, not pushing any further. I like the decision by Royal. It's been it's just been a crazy game. No reason to add any more chaos into this one. Just play it safe and choke out YSC slowly but surely.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great defensive setup from Royal. He understands what YSC needs to do to win. He's countering that perfectly. Like, YSC wants to like do a 1-2 punch combo, distract him on one side while attacking on the other, but Royal's just been shutting him down. Now going to be making his way into this mineral only, though. This is pretty naked, and these storms are going to connect with the SCVs, and only like 5 or so survived that onslaught. So much of the economy has been destroyed for Royal, but his main standing army is still relatively intact. Huge amounts of tanks and vultures currently skirmishing on the ground without using siege mode for the most part. So many High Templars left unguarded, though, being completely devastated. Some of those storms are connecting with the units, but overall, with how split up the army is, actually the units are trading up better. But these High Templars have managed to segue all the way into this base in the top right pocket. EMP comes out as a desperation, but 1 or 2 High Templars will have storm in just a few moments here.
Wow, so many SCVs have fallen. Look at the supply numbers, 91 to 72. Wow. This is insane. So much has gone down. I think that there's still a good enough army here for Royal. Oh, this siege tank huge. Right here, 19 kills. The hero siege tank cleaning up all the economy of YSC at the end. That was an insane game, Shun.
That's an insane game, saying that was the tank that broke the camel's back, unfortunately. Yeah, 20 plus kills would have occurred on that siege tank. Beautiful checkmate move there from Royal. Really masterclass in TVP from him. It's a shame YSC couldn't go all the way. I thought for a second that he was going to be able to take down Royal.
Yeah, really impressive display from YSC, despite, you know, kind of throwing things away and finding himself in a big deficit. He played admirably. He looked at the game state and he realized what he needed to do. You were talking about how Terran was just moving back and forth, you know, keeping tabs on the Protoss army. And YSC was responding to that, moving back and forth. And the one time that Royal didn't respond, he didn't move his army back over to that right-hand side, YSC went in and he took a really reasonable trade. Man, if a few more of those, like, if those storms had landed a little bit more favorably, if there had been a little bit more bulk to the YSC army, I think that there is a good potential that he could have won this game. But man, crazy TVP. Was not expecting that out of YSC versus Royal.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, Sam. I mean, who are they going to send out next? Is going to be Queen or Gameo? We're going to find out in just a moment here.
Gameo is coming out. He's going to take on Royal. I was really impressed by Royal in that last game. The fact that he was able to get a tank over to that corner while all the craziness was going on to get that final kill was very impressive. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah, and YSC was being very active on that side of the map as well. So really interesting stuff from both sides. Like, Royal is so impressive, like defensively. Like you can see why this guy's been able to get a championship title under his belt. He is pretty cool under pressure as well, which you do kind of need to have to go all the way, unless you're like the luckiest Royal Roader of your life. Gameo, though, not really up to the same caliber as some of these other guys, so I'm not sure how he's gonna fare. We saw that crazy game against Best on this map where Gameo was top left and Best was bottom left, and there was a crazy tempo back and forth with the Hydra bus situation, and just barely Best able to came out supreme. And I don't know, like, I'm hoping Gameo can finally start to get 1 or 2 games under his belt. He hasn't had much limelight on the stage. Maybe this is his game to shine.
Yeah, he's had a tough time in the KCM, often just getting shut down. But maybe he can... We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe he can pull something out. He started with a 12 hatch. I'm going to go ahead and grab his spawning pool. Not going to throw down the immediate gas, instead going up to 12. So doing a bit more of an economic 12 hatchery. He might be going for a 2.5 hatch here. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a more economic style from him, and I kind of agree with that on this map as well, especially from someone like Gameo. I don't think you're going to be able to be super cocky and go for a very tight muter timing and expect to get a consistent amount of value out of your muters against the likes of Royal. I think more often than not, Royal's going to do a pretty good defense, and you're not going to get the value out of those muters you think you will. So this 2.5 style makes a lot more sense, giving him a bit more economic boon, being able to produce more drones, more lings, and potentially get some bio cleanup later on in the mid game with the mutilist ling style like you see from Sulky. We see the first couple of Marines pushing across the map. They're going to hopefully push the drones away from the natural. He actually shies away from that though, turning back with these Marines before making that attack happen, and Gameo's just gonna go ahead and continue to mine happily. He's got a couple lings out. That's all he built, which is a little bit surprising, seeing those Marines coming across. Okay, he's got a couple more. So yeah, he did go to 4 lings, which is pretty standard in this early game. He's going to be able to push back this SCV, try to pick that off. We'll see how much time and effort he puts into trying to take that down, because you can't really hide anything as long as this SCV is in that main base. And with the lair just about to finish up, you're not going to be able to hide any tech, and Royal's going to know exactly what's coming. That's a pretty good situation for a Terran player of this caliber.
Yeah, usually with a 2.5 style you won't see too much tech shenanigans. Sometimes you'll see some Zergs on the ladder do the double tech thing where they'll make a Spire, an Evo, and a Den. Sometimes it's kind of a weird thing where they just want to really throw you off and you never quite know what they're doing, but usually it's just like a little cheap mind game, and they play the same way each time. So if you get up against the same guy, you know, eventually you'll be able to figure it out, but it can be annoying and throw you off as a Terran if like you scout them and they've got everything. They've got a Spire, Den, and an Evo. It's like, is this crazy Zerg? Is this normal? Is this lurkers? What is going on?
Definitely not optimal, but sometimes the unoptimal thing, if it's you know, not standard and it confuses your opponent, can be the optimal thing, kind of counterintuitively. It's not going to be anything crazy here out of Gameo, and he hasn't even sent out a drone just yet. Instead, just working on this 2.5 hatch, he's going to pop out a bunch of mutas, try to put on that pressure roll, going up to 4 racks.
Yeah, I like this.
Did he?
I think this guarantees him coming out onto the map as well. I mean, 2-3 racks is okay, it's very mid-range, but this 4 racks almost guarantees you being able to contest the mutalisks and get out onto that map and at least force the threat of a counter-attack and get some control early in the mid-game. So I really like this decision from Royal.
So he went for the early +1 here, huh?
Yeah.
He's got that probably about halfway done. He will have a little bit of a... Evolution Chamber. He's going to have a little bit of a slower... Oh, wow, look at this run by. Can't get my words out,
cheeky.
Nice job running right up into the main base as the barracks lifts off. Great timing by Gameo, just realizing that you're probably going to lift that off in a moment. And he's just paying attention at the very perfect time to get up in here and start to cause some chaos. Not really going to get too much out of this, but there's no turret over these barracks. The mutas are going to come right in and deny this. This is actually fantastic for Gameo. He's going to cause some real problems here for Royal. There's no turret over the main base. He slows down the factory. This is fantastic play out of our Zerg.
Oh, this is madness. And he's getting so much slowdown as well. Like, he slowed down the factory, and he's going to be slowing down the production. There's only one turret that's established on this barracks. He's made the bare minimum. This isn't a standard amount of Mutalisk. He's only now just got a bare minimum of 7 to snipe SCVs. This is not a crazy amount of Mutalisks. And he's getting so much damage to Royal with a bare minimum amount of Mutalisks. How greedy is Royal that he went such a cut on his turret timings? He felt so super safe with his 4x, and he thought, there's no way these 6 mutas are going to come in here and rip me apart. And those 4 lings did enough of a wrench in the cog work of Royal that he couldn't keep ticking over for the muta timing, unfortunately. Really well done from Gameo to find a tiny window here to make himself look like an almost contender at this tier of play. Is impressive.
Yeah, that was something that you rarely ever see. A Zerg player timing it out to exactly when the Terran wants to lift off their barracks and then running in at that moment. Stellar decision making, stellar reaction from Gameo to just get in there and start to throw the Terran player off. Now he's got a bit of an advantage. He's killed so many SCVs. I don't know even how many, and he's following up with double evolution chamber, going for crazy Zerg.
Yeah.
This is a great spot for Gameo. I mean, he's not going to do anything after this.
He's trying to win my heart with this right now. Like, I was saying, like, maybe this is his game to shine. He's really putting a performance on, and like, he's speaking to my heart with this crazy Zerg style. Like, I'm liking it. I'm really impressed.
Well, Royal is responding properly. He has immediately thrown down, like, he realizes that he's not going to be able to just come across the map and kill. He's taken too much damage. He needs like a later game solution. So he immediately gets his science facility and goes into double eBay, which is just fantastic. This is gonna it's gonna guarantee that he's always gonna be ahead in upgrades,
right? And
he's gonna have double upgrades pumping. This is fantastic for Royal, but it doesn't solve the problem. It just kind of gives him a decent out in the late game here.
Considering how much SCV damage he did with minimal Mutalisk investment, and he slowed down the factory, even just a tiny bit is a huge deal when you're going crazy Zerg. Like, just having a slight extra window of having an armor upgrade advantage with the Ultralisks will spell disaster for Royal later on, potentially. I'm a little bit nervous for Royal.
Absolutely, I'm nervous for him as well. That's so many drones, dude. Gameo hasn't had to build any sunken colonies at his front. He's got like 2-3 sunken colonies there. Usually you have to build like 8 to hold off
more critic. But he didn't really make that many Mutalisk, right? He didn't like go crazy. Like, he made like the bare minimal amount of mutas and still got so much damage done. So relatively speaking, he's been getting away with murder, making so many drones back at home and killing so many SCVs with such few investments. Now finally there's this irradiate for Royal to play with. Maybe he can come out onto the map and put some pressure on, maybe force some big trades out in the center of the board as he tries to come up into the third base location. It'll be probably too tricky to come into this natural expansion with the Sunkens being added on, but maybe Royal can get up into the top left. There is a Nidus already there. These mutas have been suffered up by this irradiate, though. Maybe there's a little bit of a hope and a prayer for Royal if he can come out onto this top left base in time. Already one Sunken being set up there to sandbag. I don't know if Royal's going to be able to get it done, though. I have a feeling that Gameo might run away with this game.
Yeah, Gameo's been able to get away with a lot, having that base in the top left mining, while not really having any solution to just mass marine. He's just been able to slow down Royal so much that he's still stopping him from really moving out and being aggressive. We'll lose. So, some of these mutas, he lost a Scourge as well. He lost one Scourge? No, he kept both the Scourge alive. That's pretty good.
Okay.
Could potentially dive in and kill one of these science vessels if they're slightly out of position. A lot more barracks coming up here for Royal. But dude, we're just gonna see so many ultras.
Yeah, it's gonna be scary. And the reality is that Royal's technically not gonna like die necessarily. He can always like turtle and like block the gaps with his SCVs and buildings, and you know, hold on to a thread basically. But the reality is that how is he gonna take a third? How is he gonna stop the Zerg taking a fourth gas here? I mean, Gamer might not win the game right here, right now, but eventually he will starve Royal into oblivion, and I just don't see how Royal's going to win the late game. He's sewn up tightly. The only real way that he could have done damage here is if he somehow did a counter offensive with some gambling drop shits, but he's only been pumping out 1-star put weather production here, so now he's not even got a big fleet of vessels to really contend with the huge count of ultralisks that are stacking up either.
There are still ways that Gameo could lose this game if he dives in with all of his ultras and loses a bunch of them, or all of them.
Yeah.
At an bad timing, he could end up losing this game. But the way to play this as a Crazy Zerg player is just to keep these ultralisks away. Just play keep away with the army. You know, keep running around the map. Don't allow the irradiates to come down on these ultras. Keep back and just keep the upgrades rolling while gathering that critical mass.
Yeah.
And try to take bases all around the map. He's taking a base over at 12 o'clock. That's a very sneaky location to try and take. Unlikely that Royal's going to find that right off the bat. And so Royal doesn't really know where to attack into. And there's only going to be an engagement here. If Gameo's playing smart, he's only going to have an engagement if Royal forces him to engage. If he forces him to take a fight at one of these bases, then he may end up engaging, but he's not going to engage before then.
Yeah, Gamer's probably going to wait until like 5-2 kicks in before he wants to go for a big trade with these ultralisks, and he'll know for sure that he gets so much value. With those Kaiser Blade upgrades, you can two-shot the Marines, so you devastate the force of Bio so quickly without D-Matrix helping out a lot. And like we said before, there's not a huge count of science vessels really, only 1 starport weather production until just now. We've got the 2nd starport finished up, starting to produce a few extra vessels. He's desperately trying to reach a critical mass of Marines so we can start gunning down these ultras one at a time. You need such a huge blob of bio to be able to accomplish that. But if he can't stop this 4th gas coming online from Gameo, this might be all for naught, because how is he going to stop when Defiler support comes online? Like 4 gas ultralisks with Defiler support is just untenable for Terran to keep up with. The swarms and plagues make the trading just too hard. All his dropships getting intercepted by Gameo. That's huge.
Oh, Gameo has some great vision around the map. You can see he's got overlords over a bunch of these high grounds and impassable terrain down at the bottom center. He spots that drop coming. Seeing that little blue dot on the map, he picks off that drop, and now he is in an insanely good position. Having this 4th gas online, he's been running around with these ultras, just avoiding the fight for this entire time. He's waited for Royal, who's now finally moving out to the middle. This is Royal's commitment. He's gonna move out into a position where Gameo actually has to fight him, and that's gonna be the moment where Gameo dives in. I'm not sure about the upgrades right now. 4-1 is still waiting for that +5 armor. If he can buy a little bit more time here, it's probably going to be for the best for Gameo. This army is making its way over into the top left. The Ultralisk count is very high. He's going to jump through the Natus not to get irradiated by all this. But as soon as these... Yeah, go ahead.
Just a few seconds till armor finishes up, though. So maybe Royal can get this done, but he'd ideally want some D-Matrixes to help tank against these Ultras and Sunken combo. He has such a huge force, though. He should be able to break up into this. I think Gameo was a little bit slow on when he took this 3rd upgrade, so he's just trying to hang on until that kicks in to gear. But but it's not looking like it's finishing up right now. Finally, he's starting to start breaking these Sunkens, saying 4-1 still is the count, so not getting this final 5th armor upgrade. This could be just what Royal needs to win this game, because now he can actually do a lot of damage to these Ultras without that critical armor upgrade for the 3-2 finish. Finally, the 5th armor upgrade finishes, but he's already cleared up the Ultras, mostly saying maybe Royal's just barely done it. The Irradiators are softening up. The Ultras, beautiful block on the ramp with the medics. Maybe he's denied enough surface area from these Ultras that he's finally gonna somehow turn a win into this situation.
Oh my god, the Ultras are getting cleaned up. There's only a couple of them left. There's not a lot of Marines, but there is a long line of party coming across the map. So many Marines making their way up here into the top left. He's actually going to pop through a few more Ultras, and with this +5 armor may be able to hold on. He's engaging outside of the range of these sunken colonies, and he's losing the base at 12 o'clock. Royals found that location. A few Lings and an Ultra are going to make its way up there to actually save that, but all the drones have already died, and this group of Bio over at top left is still alive and kicking, killing off this last Ultra. There's one more that just popped out. Royals making his way over the top left. He has to win right now, though, Shun. He doesn't have a future in this game. He's only on 2 bases, and they're about to mine out.
I mean, this is crazy. He technically hasn't killed this base at 12 o'clock as well. I mean, these an Irradiate is a double-edged sword. It does help the Ultras clear up the Marines as well if you activate it on them early enough. And as you can see, positioning the Ultras manually in the center of those Marines. But look at this Eraser trick. If he hasn't got Burrow, this is huge. I don't think he's got Burrow. He's got Burrow, but he didn't react. Are you kidding me?
Oh, the Burrow is so late, and a huge amount of drones just went down. Luckily for Gamo, he's got 1,600 minerals in the bank. All he needs is gas, but those Racer Trick vessels are camped over top of the gas. Guys, another gas comes up in the center left. Is this going to be enough? Is this what Gamo needs to actually hold this? He's sending out 2 more Ultralists. That's all he's got. Can he keep this base alive, Shun?
Oh my god, this is crazy. Saying Irradiate Ultra helping out from the back, sandbagging with the Sunken. This is such a close defense. It's insane. 2 Ultralists irradiated, trying to come in. D-Matrix, though, trying to seal the deal as some desperate rallies from Royal wants to just get rid of this. And another Eraser on the 9 o'clock. Royal's playing out of his mind right now. He says, I'm not going to lose to the likes of you. I'm a champion, baby.
He's taking out all the drones at center left. There's still 1,300 minerals remaining, Shun. He's got to burrow these drones. What are you doing, Gamo? He's losing everything at the natural. All the drones go down. 22 kills and 42 kills total on these drones. Gamo just lost his entire economy to 2 vessels.
What are we looking at? I mean, the plot armor of Royal is insane right now. Ultralisk descending upon this 3 o'clock base as well. But there's no bunkers here or anything. Maybe he can bust open a position. Royal trying to tuck his Marines behind a mineral line, but the Irradiate will help clean up. Some rallied forces coming in to deal with this. It looks like they should be able to establish control. D-Matrix as well coming in. Some more trickle of Ling and Ultra, but it's not enough to... maybe it is enough. There's an Ultralisk on the south as well, buying some valuable time to trade up. The medic block and the SCVs are just too much. He is going to kill these rallied forces. There's no medics to help out this bio ball. He's going to have to tuck tail and run. The Marines are exposed. Maybe somehow Gamo can make this work still. He has got his gases still up online operational. Beautiful bunker here is going to buy so much valuable time for Royal, so he doesn't just keep losing his unprotected Marines for free.
Did he lose his Spire? What is going on? There's still a vessel over here that hasn't been killed. It's still sitting over top and maybe going over to do another eraser trick on one of these bases. He's got enough drones to keep this game going. He used that bank to recreate some of that economy. He's bringing in another round of Ultras. He's breaking through, Shun. This is insane. How is he able to hold on? There's almost a D-Matrix for every single one of these Marines, but it's not going to be enough. That Marine is completely surrounded and killed. Great blocking with these medics. He's going to try and run behind some of these mineral patches. The Irradiates are actually harming Royal. He is going to lose this game now. I cannot believe it. The Ultra Trickle making its way into this third base and shutting it down.
I mean, this is turning into a Marine Special Forces UMS very quickly. I don't know if Royal is going to be able to handle this situation. It's a big, tall order for him to deal with. Ultralist still spelling this out. He's going to tap out. GG Gameo has done it. He's slain a champion tier player on stage at KCM. Gameo, finally, with a bit of aura.
Oh my goodness. What an insane finisher there from Gameo. Oh, I am so happy with this week, Shun. I am so glad we're back.
Good.
We are so fucking back, man.
Oh man, this is so awesome. We got a surprise season and a surprise result here. What KCM never ceases to amaze.
Well, Gameo giving us a great show there. I'm super impressed with that early game decision making, like from start to finish. There was a lot of great play. I mean, Royal put up the fight of his life, though. Gotta give it up to him as well for falling so far behind in that early game, losing so many SCVs and still making that insanely close. That was, yeah, I mean, well played on both sides. Really, really well played.
I mean, he really tested Gameo there. He found the window to punish him in between the 4-1 and 5-2 upgrade window. He had a very crisp timing to hit, and it took a long time for Gameo to stabilize. Almost bowled him over right then and there, but able to do a lot of multitasking later on after that was thwarted, and still managed to almost take out Gameo despite being behind the curve. So really impressive stuff from Royal. You can see why he's a championship tier player, and you can see the impressiveness of Gameo by being able to take him down despite that fact. Would love to see him take down Bisu right here as well, but I'm not too sure he's going to be able to beat Bisu at his own matchup. I don't know.
There is a 1.1 million won prize for the all kill, and only Gameo has the ability to take it home this week. It's a pretty far-fetched, yeah, it's a pretty far-fetched situation. But we've seen crazy things happen in KCM before, right? We saw the Stork all kill not too long ago that blew both of our minds, but I doubt that we're gonna see something that nutty in this week as well. That would be next level.
I mean, you never know with the script writers at KCM. Those guys are crazy. They'd always seem to be able to subvert your expectations. They should have hired them to finish up Game of Thrones. Maybe it wouldn't have been so terrible. But I'm really impressed with Gameo. If he can hold his own against Bisu as well, I'm sure like I might even do a standing ovation for him. If he somehow beats Bisu here, I might stand up and clap.
I don't know about that Game of Thrones reference. That was definitely subverting my expectations with that.
Well, with how bad it was.
There was a lot of subverted expectations, just not in a good way, unfortunately. This has been a great surprise, though. Gameo showing up big. You can tell that these guys are, playing practice games together, and their team, the Zerg squad is like, hey, you know what? KCM, Gameo has been showing a lot of good games recently. I think he should come in and, represent Zerg this week. And they give him a chance. He shows up really well. And maybe he's going to get a re-invite back in the future. That's a great thing. Right.
I mean, if you take out Royal and lose to Bisu, I'm pretty sure that's a net win for someone like Gameo. He's going to be very happy with a result like that, especially if he can even have a strong showing against Bisu. Even if he doesn't necessarily come close to winning, but just puts up a good fight, he's going to be feeling good about his performance here at KCM, and maybe will be offered more chances to shine. And who knows, he could be one of these up-and-coming guys like Saxary that eventually does well enough consistently to start to shine through and rise from the ashes like a phoenix and can become one of the contenders like these other crazy nerds.
We'll have to watch his progress with bated breath, see how he continues to develop. And this is a great venue to sponsor that development, to allow these players to have this platform to practice on stage in front of people, in front of casters, and with that extra added pressure, it's an excellent experience for a player like Gameo. And He's going to be making the most out of it here. Bisu sending in the Zealots now. Will spot this layer, importantly. Knowing that this is a layer is a very good piece of information. Look at this drone! Oh, he tried it. He tried it, trying to get behind the Zealots to prevent them from getting into that position behind the mineral patches too easily, but eventually Bisu going to find his way back there, and he's coming up to reinforce this position now. Pretty annoying stuff. We've got more Lings popping out, but 3 more Zealots making their way into this mineral line. This is a big problem for Gameo. He's heading in the wrong direction with those extra Lings. These Zealots are so low. 1 HP left on that. Is he going to lose some drones here? I think he will. Okay, does target down 1 drone. Some pretty good micro on these, though. Another drone goes down. 2 drones have fallen so far. The micro pretty darn good on these, though. Able to kind of throw the Zealots off balance, make them wander back and forth, but again Bisu gets into this position that's so difficult to dislodge.
Oh, this is crazy from Bisu. I mean, Gameo was had a few tricks up his sleeve there, but unfortunately that would have worked against a lesser ladder Protoss, not the likes of Bisu, who basically invented how to play this matchup. I mean, come on, Gameo, you got to respect your elder right now. Does manage to get through on this bust though. Beautifully target firing from Gameo. He is trading pretty good with Bisu, trying to tuck his Zealots into this nook and cranny as much as he can, but eventually Gameo will win out, and you do want to force the trade there. You don't want to be like Queen and try and just contain the Zealots with some Zerglings and try and be sneaky. You want to just get rid of those so you can mine and commit your Lings out onto the map and be completely unhindered by that Zealot later on. Of course, they're going to be coming into the main base to scout everything. I'm still pretty impressed with Gameo that he didn't just get completely obliterated by Bisu right away.
Yeah, I mean, he lost a couple of drones, but it's not unrecoverable. It's not irredeemable at this point.
Yeah.
You can, re-drone with the number of Lings that he's got on the map. He's pretty safe from most everything at this point. Does find an Overlord out on the map, but that Spire I don't think was too slow. It should be, a few Scourge popping out here in a moment, and he's replenishing those Overlords as we speak. Gameo, just the 1 Overlord gonna end up going down, but he won't have anything over at this natural to potentially do any sort of Hydralis bust. Yeah, he doesn't have that really as an option anymore, and with the Citadel already down and a Templar Archive's gonna start, he's just gonna have to play a little bit defensive and take this into a later game.
Right. I mean, even if he still wanted to commit to it for whatever reason, he can't even physically do it just because of the Overlords being sniped. It slows down his production timings just too much. He can't even make use of that. Now, only now can he start to produce unhindered, and that took him quite some time to recover. So that would give way too much of a window for Bisu to defend usually. So it looks like we're going to be seeing a much more mid-range style from Gameo, just trying to produce as much Hydra as he can so that when the Zealot Templar push does come out, he will be able to skirmish with that and still make a playable game of it going into that mid-game phase. Who knows, maybe he can still get a bit of an upset here and turn the game around for himself later.
Yeah, he's going to have to take it a little bit longer. Gonna have to take it slow here. Just try to get into about 2 groups of Hydras, put them together, and push back these Corsairs and Zealots. He's actually surrounding a little bit on these Zealots, which is a pretty great move. Gonna stop the Zealots from retreating and picks off quite a few of them, but back at home his Overlords are under threat. Good target fire here. Almost picking off one of these Corsairs. A few Overlords do end up dying, but he puts some good damage on the Corsairs, and he forces these Zealots back away from his mineral lines. Now, Gameo, I mean, that's a lot of cannons being thrown down. He can't really counterattack. He just needs to get this drone count up, and for that he needs more Overlords. So he's just being kind of slowed down once again by Bisu.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't too bad of a game actually. I mean, the only issue for Gameo is that he's not able to keep up with the multitasking of Bisu sniping Overlords. If that wasn't a factor, if he wasn't losing Overlords every few moments or so, he'd be in a great spot. The problem is that Bisu is very adept at finding these tiny holes to come in, pick off an Overlord here or there, and now he's even got a Dark Temple that's going to be added to the mix to see if he can open up this position even more. But honestly, there is a critical mass of Hydras at this position, so Bisu shouldn't be able to keep up the pressure now. It should be a moment of respite for Gameo. He can establish himself, build up a nice army, and I think he'll be okay. He's going up to a 3rd gas as well. He's going to have so much gas soon. Do you think this is going to be just mass lurkers, or are we going to have a muta switch? It seems a muta switch seems unlikely with the Corsairs being relatively unchecked.
I believe that we're going to go into a lurker play, but it's been so popular recently to just suddenly pop out a bunch of mutas and try to go across the map. Just even if there are Corsairs out, just throw the mutas like up to the top of the map and then sneak around the top. Try to just fly into the natural and kill all the Templars. Sometimes that can end up working out and being successful. But it's a pretty risky play with this many Corsairs. If he catches you and you're not able to kill a bunch of Templar, you're going to be in a huge amount of trouble. I'm a little bit worried for Game Mode because he's been slowed down enough to where he can't take a 4th base just yet. And Bisu's already got all 8 gateways out. You really do need to keep growing here as Game Mode. Otherwise, Bisu's going to completely take control of this game.
Yeah, he needs to grow and apply pressure, and he's been able to accomplish neither of those things. So he's not really playing StarCraft right now. He's just like, you know, kind of just like practicing his build order, and it's not going to be enough to handle someone of Bisu's caliber. He's not just a ladder Protoss. You actually need to do more than just sit back and build up an army. So this could be a little bit tough for Gameo, and Bisu kind of trying to get up here. Nice egg block on the ramp though, stops the surface area for the Zealots to exploit. So he's doing a pretty good job of thwarting Bisu's efforts, but like we were saying, he's not really growing or applying pressure yet. Finally wants to start being active with these forces out on the map to see if he can slow down Bisu's 3rd and move out, but by this time, like, Bisu will have a strong enough force. He should be able to just push back these 2 groups of Hydra.
Yeah, these Hydras out on the map are gonna get surrounded. Zealots getting in here, killing off 3, 4, 5 Hydras, going down as he retreats. There's a few lurkers in the mix, but yeah, the lack of a 4th base is really worrying right now. 11 minute 30. You're falling further and further behind as Gameo. He just doesn't feel confident enough to take this next base, and he's going to be moving around with that 6-hatch Hydra, getting ready to maybe take an engagement, but we may end up seeing, you know, big armies get traded here in a moment, and then Gameo just completely fall behind in terms of the macro because Bisu is taking his 3rd, and he is macroing like crazy off these 8 gateways.
Yeah, I mean, we see some sneaky lurkers down at the 3 o'clock to force the mineral only being taken. It's a little bit sneaky, but it's not really the kind of value we need here from Gamer. I guess maybe it could be a drop. Maybe it could be a lurker drop would be interesting. He can surprise Bisu with that. But 2 Corsairs are just going to be chilling out at this location. He kind of anticipates there'll be some kind of sneaky drop play potentially. Who knows? Wow,
he's got them split up. Yeah, look at this. He's really predicting this well. Gonna try to come running in and see what he can do over at this 3rd, but immediate response from Bisu. He is more than on top of this, and he's got the Corsairs in such a position that the drop play is just not going to work out. Gameo continuing to macro off of 3 base, just building up a huge army. He's hoping to get in there and kill like every probe, and then somehow win with the, you know, when the counterattack comes, just hold that off and then win from there. It's probably not going to happen though, because Bisu's taking his own 4th and he's pushing across the map right now. He's got a huge army, and I don't know if Gameo's going to be able to get in here. He's going for the drop now. Here we go. Drop is going to be landed over on this side. The lurkers are out of range of the cannons for the most part. Here comes the secondary drop into the natural. He's going to try and get as many probes as he can. Great storm though on top of all of this. They get a few kills, 5 kills on one of those lurkers, but that's not what he was looking for. He was looking to kill that entire drone line, and look at how many lurkers he's got to this northern side. This is going to get absolutely minced by a couple of storms.
Yeah, I mean, he might get the cancel on this Nexus at the 12, but he needs to make sure he doesn't lose these lurkers for free. Luckily, he's doing another attack on the 3 o'clock, so those lurkers won't just die for free, but I don't know, there's a big wedge could be driven between this. There's a beautiful Sonic Storm. So many Hydras being cleaned up in such a short period of time. He has denied mining at his 3rd base, so it's technically 2 base for Bisu at the moment, so it's making up for the fact that he's on 3 bases currently. 4th base finally coming online for Gamer. It's going to be some time before that's going to be mining operational. He's like kind of on like full production at the moment, trying to see if he can get something done with Battle Zerg, but I don't think he's going to be able to deny mining or anything for much longer. He might be able to establish this 4th base and still make a game of it, but I don't think he's going to keep slowing Bisu down for much longer.
Bisu going to come over and take center right now, just pushing everything out and establishing himself. in this base, while Gamo is going to try to come into the rally point in between the third and the natural, but immediately backing off as soon as he feels some pressure from this Protoss force. He really can't take the big fight with this army just yet. The storms are going to rip him absolutely to pieces, so he needs to continue to just be sneaky, find ways to deal damage without fully engaging Bisu, or he's just going to get ripped apart. 4 bases to 4 bases. This is not a good situation, man.
No.
You never like to see it as a Zerg player.
I mean, the only thing going for Gamo is that Bisu will be mined out slightly quicker due to the higher saturation. We just saw the main become mined out there. But, I mean, Bisu is more than happy about that. He's got the additional bases coming online for those probes to transfer to. It's not really a problem, even if you are mining out. Still going to be healthy on these other 3 bases until the natural goes away as well. But, I mean, maybe he can get something done. He's being a little bit flimsy with his defenses. It was just this single High Templar here. Gamo trying to exploit that and get the snipe, but enough baiting with that High Templar means he's actually killing quite a lot of these Hydras without that Templar going down. It actually works out in Beast's favor. Unfortunately for Gamo, he's not really finding anything even in these small skirmishes here. And like we were saying earlier, this 4th base is a little bit slow. It's starting to mine now, but in conjunction with Bisu already having 4 bases set up, I mean, this is not looking ideal for our Zerg player.
Yeah, Bisu's gonna have that giant army to push down onto Gamo's natural soon. So many overlords moving out. He's like maybe going for a massive drop into center right.
Maybe yeah.
That could actually work out well because there's only that one Templar there, I think, for the moment. He might have brought a couple more over in the meanwhile, but if there's only one Templar, one Storm available, and he drops all over top of that, the only option for Bisu is going to be to counterattack, I think, and maybe he has enough back at home. Oh, he's got a couple more over here. Let's go. Big drop onto this base. Let's see if he can make it work. Storming his own workers there. A lot of those workers end up going down, but he's actually going to land in behind the mineral patches. The storms are insane, dealing so much damage to this. Maybe he can still kill the Nexus, though. It's looking a little bit dire, however. Gamo losing all of these Hydras very quickly, and the Overlords will go down as well. This is going to be a massive supply block.
Oh, this is wild. I mean, if he had targeted this Nexus immediately, maybe he would have picked it off, but then he wouldn't have traded very well on the ground either. So, yeah, Gamo kind of trying to make the best out of a bad situation, but not really finding the compensation he wanted. He's trying to get some High Templar snipes at the rally point. Maybe he can set up a big bust as well. Usually the natural expansion is the weakest point in the defenses for the Protoss player the later the game goes on. So he's trying to exploit that. So many deadly storms being blanketed onto these Hydralisks, though. It's kind of wild. Finally, Bisu ahead in supply. There was a moment there where Gamo was looking crazy in supply, trying to break through with as much muscle as he can with his Battle Zerg tier army. Bisu, though, in hot pursuit with a massive Dragoon-based army, trying to establish some control of his rally point yet again. Lurker sandbagging the progress, but he's breaking through this wall. Maybe he can get inside the main base and kill the infrastructure, but I don't think that's going to transpire. I think there's enough rally points here and enough standing army that he's going to sandwich this force and be okay.
Okay, Gamo, he's making a real game out of this one. He's actually causing so much strife for Bisu. He's slowing him down a lot. He's gonna go ahead and hit the center right with a huge amount of units, but do we have storms? How many storms do we have? One storm potentially? Yeah, that one storm is all he's got. He's gonna run down the ramp now with the lurkers. He's gambling on the fact that there's not another storm to just blanket these lurkers on that high ground, and there's not enough energy on that one Templar, so he's gonna be able to get down here into the base. He's gonna kill so many probes. There's the last storm. He finally had enough energy for that. All the probes are gonna go down, though. Gamo actually taking a big advantage potentially.
I mean, this is crazy. I love how active he's being. He's trying to stretch Bisu to his absolute limits, and this is exactly the kind of chaos he does need to create to have a chance at going back in this game. So many Hydras could die to this storm. There needs to be careful. More storm dodging is required to maintain the trades. He's starting to fall behind in supply by about 40 now. He's lagging behind in the trade value. He needs to keep trading well. It's no good doing good tactical stuff if you're not trading well, so it does start to get back on top of that. Now only 30 supply deficit, not looking too bad, but with this 12 o'clock base, it's very precarious. One small mistake and he will lose this base at 12 o'clock, and then the game will just be over. So he's trying to invest everything into holding this cross, but now everything's junctioned up and so easily stormed. Saying, how can he hold on to this 12 o'clock base?
Oh, it's not gonna work out. Shun, he's not gonna be able to hold on to that. Finally, Bisu goes on the aggressive. He hasn't been aggressive since the initial small zealot attacks in the early game that did a little bit of damage to Gameo. Now he's getting over here and actually pressuring. I can't believe he's holding on to 12. What? All of that army's gonna back off. I think he's gonna go for a counter right into the natural, though. This is too many Dragoons for just pure rallies to deal with. Gameo's kind of slipping on his economy, on his production. He's got 1,500 minerals in the bank. He gives up. GG. Bisu takes this one home, but Gameo made a hell of a game out of it.
Wow, I guess it makes sense. He just needed to like keep the rally points like continuously pressured with the Dragoons. It doesn't matter if you don't kill 12, you just keep like stopping the army from joining up. And he gets on top of the hatchery production, it's over from there. Gameo can't do anything. Really great game sense and understanding of the game state from Bisu. But Gameo made such a good run of it. For a second there, I thought maybe there was a little bit of light in the tunnel. Maybe somehow he could dispatch with Bisu and go on the all-kill road, but it wasn't in the cards tonight. Instead, it's going to be back to the Terran side of things. JYJ or Speed going up against Bisu next.
Looking back at that game, I really feel like the counterattack into the natural, when he lost so many Hydras to those few Templar just standing there. I mean, if you just send 5-6 Hydras into the rally point and just right-click down each of those Templar, you won't lose so many Hydras. But he was so eager to get in there and get into that main, get into that natural. He wasn't willing to take the time. He just sent everything forward, and he took such terrible trades with those Hydras. Crazy match. Let's jump into the next one. I am actually sad to see Gameo go out now. That was some incredible play. That was some very exciting and fun Zerg versus Protoss and Zerg versus Terran that we just witnessed. I hope that Gameo will come back in the future to bring us more games like that, Shun. That was not your standard ZVP by any stretch. That was some crazy stuff with that Battle Zerg style.
That was exciting to watch. I mean, we saw a very exciting game between him and Best as well, with Best with the Hydra hold and the comeback. And if he can, I don't care if he comes and loses. If he can just come and like give us games like that to watch, I mean, that's more than fine. Like, that was really exciting. Not your stereotypical PvZ by any stretch of the word. Love to see him give Bisu a run for his money like that, with some very unorthodox tactics and what have you. Really impressive stuff. Instead, we're gonna have JYJ coming out to challenge Bisu. Bisu's the last Protoss hope now. JYJ's got Speed waiting to tag in if he can't get it done as well. So the Terran lineup still looking really healthy.
Speed being kept as the final boss of the Terran lineup. It's kind of crazy how much he's developed and how much respect he's earned over the past couple of seasons. He has just blossomed.
Or a plus 1,000.
And yeah, he's looking so great. Really looking like that final boss. Now, JYJ down here, we haven't seen him for a while. He's been a little bit MIA recently in the KCM lineups, and he's going to be looking to prove himself now on Radeon vertical positions to go up against Bisu. Of course, Bisu has also kind of blossomed in this matchup quite a bit lately. He's been more of a PvZ expert for a long time, but he's taken some big strides lately in the PvT matchup as well.
Yeah, he also brought us the interesting tactic that players have been desperate for, of zealot bombing recalls onto tanks, and he brought that to us in a previous seasons on Citadel. You sometimes see that from Bisu. He'll do the things that you want him to do the most. He'll be the one guy to pull it off for you. So maybe you guys in the chat will see more of those kind of crazy tactics out of him. He's one of those Protoss players that actually will go for those slightly less used tactics.
Always been an innovator of Protoss. It's like that one Bonjour player, potentially. I don't know if you categorize Bisu as a Bonjour exactly, but I think he is an honorary one, even if you don't consider him a full-on Bonjour.
he's a pillar of StarCraft, not necessarily a full-on Bonjour, just because he hasn't been that dominant in those other matchups. But in terms of Protoss versus Zerg, he is, you know, an honorary Bonjour.
Well, Bisu gonna get the scout off finally. He's checked the entire rest of the map, but he gets the probe down here. Won't be able to see the CC in the natural, which is a pretty big problem for him at the moment. Maybe with this Dragoon coming up, there's only 3 Marines. A 4th, I think, just made its way to the front. Or is that a Vulture? No, just an SCV. So 3 Marines. Gonna be able to push this back. No bunker here, so if he wants to, he can continue to poke. But 3 Marines does beat this, and with some reinforcements coming out, he's denying the vision. He's denying the scout on this CC, and it's quite a problem right now for Bisu. He needs to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's honestly really annoying. If the Terran player is getting away with not even making a bunker and is denying you vision on what is going on, it must feel painful for Bisu to have to deal with this. And Tank's also going to be out, so he can make this look like a little bit of a, at very least, it's going to be an FD push here. And if he hasn't got confirmation, it is a little bit worrying for Bisu. If he doesn't know what exactly is coming, this could be a 2-fact for all he knows.
Yeah, that's the big scary. That's what Protoss need to get in there to find out. Is it going to be a 2-fact or not? And he just hasn't been able to confirm that. Second gateway is coming down. That's a good response to a 2-fact, but we'll go ahead and grab that robotics facility as well. Range on the way. The army's not coming across the map just yet, so Bisu can start to rule out the potential of a 2-factory now that he knows that there's you know, no vultures running up or the army making its way forward. He's put down a pylon, a couple of pylons in fact, at the front just to soak up a little bit of damage. Potential DPS being wasted on those buildings is very good. Yeah. And he's got those 4 Dragoons with potentially 2 more about to pop out. 6 Dragoons shuts this down. Pretty much no problem. JYJ gonna come in for the poke though. And see what kind of damage he can do.
Well, he knows at the very least there's going to be an FD push. He has to still micro against this to make sure he doesn't lose too much. Doesn't want to lose a single Dragoon if he can help it. With the 2 tanks coming in like this, he will lose probably at least one. One does fall. Has got some mines laying in their wake. The AI pylons were a nice idea if this was going to be a 2-fact, but it's actually a little bit problematic against an FD push. It does allow him to kill at least 1 pylon for free, so it's not a bad compensation for JYJ here. He gets a little bit of a bang for his buck here. Without even having to quit. Oh no! This is rough for JYJ though. Does have to sacrifice one of these siege tanks now. Bisu coming out strong, clearing out the mines. He might even get this other tank here. This is really rough for JYJ.
JYJ overstaying his welcome. But Bisu is going to stop for now. He had to wait for that observer. The observer was checking over to the right-hand side just to make sure that there weren't some vultures coming in for the counterattack, and so he will not clean up that tank. Pretty big that JYJ manages to take that home, keep that alive, but it's important that he lost the first tank, being a little bit too committed to that attack initially. And there's still no bunker here. Shouldn't that immediately targeted down the Marine? He could have dove on that tank in the back line, but he decides against it. Just gonna go ahead and take the consolation prize, killing off a couple of these frontal units, and gonna go to work on that barracks for a moment. That's probably all he's gonna get in terms of damage, but that was a scary moment there for JYJ as those 4 Dragoons made their way into the natural.
Yeah, the siege tank on the high ground was enough to save him from disaster there. Really rough stuff, like probably making almost the worst case scenario for his early game tactics, but luckily still in the game. It's the worst case scenario with the game still being more or less playable for JYJ, so it's not the complete disaster. He's managed to avoid complete disaster. He wasn't able to slow down this third of the vultures. He was trying to get in here with the vultures to snipe the probe that was coming down in the buildings and never got the snipe, so unfortunately, like, he's trying to compensate for that by catching 2 of these probes that are in transfer. It's not too bad. He's killed a few of these scouting probes that are making their way over to the mine behind these bases, this base finally at the third, but not really the compensation he was looking for. Currently almost 20 supply behind, going up into this fourth factory production. It's not looking ideal for him. He can't really even afford to min-max at the moment because of like the small micro errors he made earlier on. So now he's kind of like having to consolidate and play a little bit more passively, and that might come back to bite him.
Yeah, the importance of this third base going down when it did is can't be overstated. It's just right on curve for Bisu, and that's not what you want when you take control of the map like JYJ did with the FD push. You want to be able to set up some mines and keep the vultures active to prevent the probe from getting over there immediately, and the longer that you're able to do that, the better the position you're going to find yourself in as the game goes on. But he's just not been able to slow down Bisu too much at all, and he's lost tanks. Bisu is just rolling ahead, and this Reaver coming in, not going to get the greatest shot there. Unfortunately, targeted an SCV that was headed back on the return path, bringing some of those minerals to the CC, and now JYJ is going to lock down his bases with Goliaths. He's got a full turret ring and everything, so Beast is probably not going to be able to get in here for any more damage.
Yeah, well, way back when, Tank Goliath was the counter to mass shuttle play, and they eventually figured out a more optimized way of doing it, of getting their Goliaths out at a moment where they can start to kill observers. You get just 3 Goliaths out, you can start scanning for those observers, and also gives you a potential to 3-shot these shuttles. You get up to 4 Goliaths, you can start 2-shotting those shuttles as well. And with the 5 factory play, it does give you enough units to leverage out onto the map to start to, overrun the slow down sandbagging tactics of the shuttle Reaver. We see the vultures trying to see if they can sneak in. They're unable to do so. Bisu's sewn up pretty tightly with these pylon walls, and not really going to be finding a lot with the efforts of these vultures, but it's good that he's attempting to do this. At least it does give him some oxygen to pull the dragoons around, get his tanks up to this bridge area. Maybe he can start laying siege to his third base location and prevent Bisu from bowling it over. He's going to try and see if he can snake around with his goons, but he thinks better of it. He sees that it's too tight of a position here for JYJ. He's going to instead cut off the rally point of the Terran player, and this might give enough room for JYJ to eventually kill this base.
This is a pretty big gamble for JYJ. He went really hard over towards that third, but he's not actually in range of it. He's not hitting the Nexus, so coming in with the counterattack is a great choice for Bisu. JYJ is not really making any progress right now, and he may end up killing so many SCVs. Oh my god. Oh, doesn't quite connect there. That comsats just preventing the damage from going down, and now JYJ pushing in a little bit closer. Great drop there with the Reaver. A bunch of the earlier Goliaths were taken out in a skirmish, so he only has 1 Goliath remaining to deal with the shuttle, and it's just not enough. He breaks through, Bisu saves his third, and he kills a lot more tanks.
Yeah, this is really going Bisu's way, and oh no, Saiyan, oh no, these are so precious. These tanks are like gold dust. He's got a single tank left alive. Reaver still getting more damage in the main base now. 12 kills, more SCVs will go down as well. 3 Scarabs left in the tank, so he can fire at maximum rate of fire at the moment. This is not looking ideal. Some dudded Scarabs will be a little bit of a saving grace for JYJ, but only 80 supply to 120, and he's not even mining in his main base with these transfers. This is not looking good. 4th base coming online, pretty on curve for Bisu as well. Everything is going Bisu's way.
The long hiatus of JYJ from KCM doesn't seem to have done him too many favors.
No.
He's been away for some time, and he's coming back to a new and improved Bisu, who's just overwhelming him with his excellent decision making and very strong control in every situation.
Yeah.
Is getting on top of his armies, and JYJ did kind of overcommit towards that third base. He boxed himself into a corner.
He didn't even try. Yeah. I mean, it would make sense if he at least was pressuring the probes and the Nexus more, but he didn't even do that, and now he's like paying the price, Sam.
Yeah, he gave a little bit too much time to Bisu. He was worried about the counterattack, and as rightly so. That counterattack was very, very scary. Bisu almost getting up right into the main base with a bunch of his Dragoons, and the Reaver almost got insane damage, insane value. It was only the Comsat that kind of saved his life there. I think that someone like Snow could have gotten way more value because he just knows the right places to land the Reaver in every situation. It felt like Bisu kind of landed in an awkward spot where the Reaver wasn't able to do the big damage, but now he can get some massive damage with these storms. Great dodge though by JYJ to keep most of these SCVs alive. That could have been way, way worse. Oh, a mine in the mineral line. Are we gonna get that big connection? Great pick up there, but prevented from getting damage with that storm.
I mean, these mines are clutch. Like, if that mine had not been there, like, he would have had to get... Oh! That follow-up storm's pretty good, though. Some of those SCVs were weak. Unfortunately, there's not another storm available, or he would have got critical damage on those stacked SCVs. But, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, Bisu is looking insane in this game. It's like 60 supply lead, and he's killing that many SCVs, and JYJ still can't get his third online. It's his 4-base Protoss versus 2-base Terran. It's only a matter of time before he's going to get absolutely bowled over. He's got a pretty sizable army, but that's mainly because like most of his supply is in army. He's not got hardly any SCVs back at home.
Bisu's tired of playing with his food. He's coming in for the final bite, taking a chomp out of this army as he dives in on top. Another rally of Zealots gonna make its way forward. We've even got a couple of DTs in the mix. This man loves to mix it up. They get right on top of all of this. Every single tank gonna fall down as the final storms arrive. That is it.
This is just painful.
Yeah, 100% JYJ. Getting brutalized here by Bisu, and we are one player apiece now. Once again, coming down to the wire, and we're gonna get all the way to the final game. It just doesn't get better than this, Shun.
No, it really doesn't, say. We're spoiled for choice. Christmas has come early, guys. We got an impromptu season, an impromptu crazy script from the writers, hot off the press. They couldn't even wait until next year, saying they were too excited.
Couldn't even wait 1 week break like they usually do at the end of the season. We're right back into the action. We're gonna have Bisu versus Queen. That's coming up next. Excellent. Queen versus Bisu as our next match, and here we are on Kickback. Should be some shenanigans going on, that's for sure. These two guys have a long, storied history from back in the day when the player formerly known as Zero went up against Bisu. Kespa era, I'm talking about. These guys have been going at it for a very long time.
Oh yeah, I mean, Zero back in the day was actually quite a low economy player, especially in ZVT, Zerg versus Terran. He was the guy like going 12 pull into expand, so he was having a much quicker lair timing of Mutalisks, and he was the guy trying to take down Flash with those really crisp Mutalisk timings, like on maps like Heartbreak Ridge and what have you back in the day. He's come a long way though. He's now Queen, he's a matriarch, he's got a much more standard macro style, you could say. I'm not sure if he's quite as on form as he was in recent years. He did have a little bit of dominance in this matchup for about a year or so, but he's still looking pretty strong.
Yeah, we've seen him kind of on and off, doing well and then struggling a little bit, you know, falling off slightly, maybe getting overconfident. Doesn't seem like he has the fire in his belly like he did in those couple of seasons that he won ASL a few years back, but he's still a strong contender. He's still someone to watch out for, and I'm sure if he takes things really seriously for a season, he could stand a good chance of, you know, coming back into form and outperforming our expectations.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him back in the circuit again, performing back to more his usual caliber. Remains to be seen if he can even attempt to go back to the recent domination he had in years prior, but might be able to do so. 4 links hatching out now, going to be bullying away this probe, obfuscating exactly the tech tree choice. But he will be getting this hatchery online very quickly, like you would usually go through. Nice turn around the probe though. Now the Zerglings will have to ignore it potentially because he's worried about this Zealot coming out on the map. So should be getting pretty good scouting information here from Bisu. Nothing too crazy in the early game. Might even get a bit of annoyance on this drone, slowing down the mining time. I don't know. Like, I don't think Queen looks as confident in this matchup as he used to. Like, he used to be very scary in this matchup, but now he doesn't have that same sort of aura, you know?
Yeah, perhaps we just haven't seen him at that level for a while, so we don't feel it. But we'll give Queen the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he can pull something off really strong against Queen here. He's gone for a 3 hatch play with no layer. He's definitely going to be throwing down a Hydralisk Den soon. And he's going to be defending his overlords with just Hydras versus the potential Corsairs that are going to come out. Before that, though, a couple of Zealots and a probe making their way into the main base. And we know how much damage this Protoss player can get. Oh, great snipe there on the probe. The probe makes such a big difference in
really
these fights. You know, if he had that probe right behind the Zealot, like over top of the Zealot there in the back corner, that thing can do so much extra damage. It can kill a lot more lings, but Queen is actually going to leave those where they are. And well, this is kind of Queen's style, right? He just kind of likes to ignore these.
Exactly. I was about to say, like, it is kind of very Queen-esque to ignore the Zealots behind the minerals as much as he can get away with. He'll even sometimes, like, contain them by making a wall of Zerglings, like, so he can go back to mining and doing other things while the Lings, like, hold position, like, trying to contain them in. It's very bizarre the way he approaches the game with these Zealots. He does tend to lean towards ignoring them and trying to, like, circumnavigate the advantage of those Zealots taking that positional advantage rather than just swallowing the bullet. Trying to put some pressure on the front here is Queen. Might be able to get us around. He's getting four lings onto that gateway, trying to pick it off, get dangerous. Beautiful run by on the bottom though, gets 3 Zerglings into the main base with speed. Could be a little bit nightmarish for Bisu to have to do it, but has got enough Zealots to do so. It's just very difficult to keep up with those speedlings.
Yeah, he's chasing those speedlings around at the same time. Queen just gonna let these lings go to work, try to pick off these couple of Zealots behind the mineral patch. He's done letting those stay there, and he kills 3 probes. Really good control there, getting this around on the probes and just killing them off so quickly. It's very difficult to do. Zerglings don't like to pay attention to commands a lot of the time, and he's able to just maneuver these so well. He's keeping this alive for a long time. Gonna rotate back around, get more damage. Dude, he's done a lot already, but if he gets more probes, he's just gonna be in a lot of trouble.
I mean, this is great from Queen. This is starting to look more like the Queen from old, much more assured of himself, and he might even get 1 or 2 more probe kills. Like you say, even just forcing little pullbacks from the minerals and denying some mining time is huge. Ooh, getting on top of this main mineral line as well. I really love this more active style from Queen. We need to see more of it. He has been playing like this a little bit. We just don't usually see him execute to this level, and doing so against Bisu is very impressive indeed. I'm so far loving this. Starting to throw down some more macro hatcheries as well, going into that normal style of a mid-game as well as a follow-up. He could, if he wanted, do a 4-hatch Hydra here. I don't think we'll see it from Queen. It's very unlike Queen to do plays like that. He'll much more likely go into that standard 3 hatchery Spire into 5-6 hatchery Hydra. That is usually his benchmark.
Well, he doesn't have a Spire this game, that's for sure. He's going to throw down a bunch more hatches.
He's got one on the way.
Setting up this Spire. He does have one on the way. Okay. I didn't see the layer earlier. Where did he throw that? Was the layer in the main base? Okay.
Yeah, it's right. It's right. The Spire's right under the main base as well. The main base layer.
Gotcha. So this is a bit more standard than I expected. I thought he was going to go for a Hydra play, but instead he's got his defenses set up. He's going to be popping out those Scourge here soon. He's relying on these Lings and 1 Sunken Colony defend quite a few Zealots. 1 little bit of a rally coming out should be enough to hold this. Yeah, you're not getting in with that many Zealots. These Lings are going to shut this down. He might even just go after this. Okay, he's going to dive right on top of it. The reinforcement zealots might turn the tide, but this is a pretty good amount of kills here before the +1 upgrade finishes for these zealots. He's already picked off quite a few of them.
This is really well calculated from Queen, and you have to keep clicking on those zealots manually with left click to make sure they haven't got the upgrade yet, to make sure it's okay to go for plays like that, because at this sort of timing, usually the +1 would be finishing up at 7 minutes, so at any time they could be finishing. Coming in with the Scourge as well. He loves to keep scouting with his Scourge, which is really important as Zerg to know exactly what the Protoss is doing at this stage of the game is vital, especially if you've not yet decided where your gas is going to go. So he doesn't know exactly if he wants to, like, go purely into Hydras here, or maybe even consider a little bit of an Ogre Zerg play might be a consideration, but it looks like it's going to be a very standard just defensive Spire, getting a few Scourge to deal with the Corsairs into a mass Hydra production. Nothing too crazy out of Queen. It is kind of on brand for him to do this.
Bisu looking at this setup from Queen, I'm really surprised that he wants to dive into this. They go ahead and trade a little bit with these Lings, but the Hydra's standing right there and the Sunken Colony with that Great Wall. It's so difficult to punch through. He's going to build a bunch of cannons back at home because this is too many Hydras to deal with. He's still pretty far out from getting his storms up to the front. It's almost 9 minutes, but he was a little bit slow maybe on getting those out.
I mean, Templar Archives just finished up at 8 minutes 30. There is a small window here for Queen to put the pressure onto the front. Maybe he can get something done. Corsairs can buy a little bit of time and see exactly how many Hydras are being made. Maybe he can see that, okay, I don't need too many cannons here. I should just barely be okay. But even just forcing any... Oh, he's actually, yeah, he's enforced at least a couple of extra cannons here. It's actually pretty crucial from Queen to force these cannons. It slows down the gateway count so significantly for Bisu. His mid-game timings are going to be so much weaker as a result of being worried about this potential Hydra burst from Queen. He knows how slow his Templar Archives is. There's a potential to just die straight up here. DT will come out to slow down using the Corsairs to try and stop any Overlords getting to spot here. Maybe this DT will provide him as a protection, but these Hydras might still go for a bust, and the gateway's already low.
Oh, the gateway is quite low. There's not a lot of zealots over here at the natural as well. This is so many Hydras. He's just diving on the cannons, and as soon as the zealots are all gone, man, how can he hold on? There's the first Templar. It just popped out. 50 energy. The countdown has begun. He's gonna dive on top of these cannons one more time. The cannons are falling so quickly. The probes are gonna come out to fight, but this is still way too many Hydras. Bisu has just slightly miscalculated in this game, and he's gonna get busted through very, very quickly. And even though there's just about to be energy for this storm, without the cannons to back it up, there's no point in even casting that. You're not going to be able to hold on. With the rallies coming forward as well, Queen will be able to stomp this Protoss player out. Pretty okay storm there, but you can just see it's just not the same when you don't have cannons to back it up.
Yeah, this is much more like the Queen of old, even with some nice finer improvements, being a little bit more aggressive when it calls for it. GG finally called from Bisu. So impressed with Queen, finally coming back in some kind of significant fashion, taking down the likes of Bisu in his own element in PvZ. This is the kind of results we expect from Queen. It's nice to see him more informed this season.
Final match of the night's gonna be Queen versus Speed, and I'm excited for it, Shun. Speed has been showing us so many great games lately, and I'm always loving his TVZ. He's just such an exciting player to watch. He's so aggressive, so crazy, and he just gets up in your face, definitely living up to his namesake.
Yeah, I mean, he basically names himself after the film Speed. You know, he's got to keep that bus going with gunneries, by the way. He's got to keep that bus going above a certain speed limit, or the bomb will go off, saying it's like he's playing out of desperation for his life to maintain a certain speed. It's absolutely insane to watch this guy play. The amount of task, the amount of interactions he can force, and the task switching is just so phenomenal. He can make the absolute best StarCraft player look like an absolute chump sometimes. Really impressive to see this modern player break through the barriers that other players haven't been able to do. So maybe he's the up-and-coming future champion that we need to show Terrans a new way of thinking, a new way of playing.
Like an action star, an action hero, Speed plays best with a gun to his head, and then that adrenaline starts to roll. This guy shines. He's just so fast, so crisp with his play. I love the Keanu Reeves reference, by the way. That was a great movie. Need to go back and watch that at some point. That is a blast from the past, man. That is a 90s kid movie for sure.
Oh, it absolutely is, saying it's right up our alley, right? Ripe old age of 33 or so.
There's a lot of movies like that. Need to introduce my Japanese wife to. She's missed out on so many great classics. I think this year will be watching Die Hard. I think that's one I don't think she's seen yet, and definitely needs to. That's like a cultural icon or cultural moment.
Oh yeah, that's my cousin's favorite movie, and he's my age. Yeah, that's from our era, 100%. Like, oh god, like there's not many more iconic action movies from my era I can think of.
My favorite was always The Matrix. I guess you could call that an action movie, but that's probably one of the biggest, the most iconic from our era that I can think of right off the bat.
That's true. Yeah, The Matrix, really ahead of its time as well in the CGI and the techniques of, like, you know, it kind of holds up today still a little bit. Obviously some of it doesn't quite look so good, but kind of miraculous that they made that film like almost 25 years ago and it still looks pretty decent. Reminds me of how good the CGI was from the Transformers movie, the first from, I can't remember which one it was, but it was somewhere in the middle, like 2009. They had like a movie that still holds up today in terms of how good the CGI is.
Yeah, that was back when movies like that wouldn't just flop out, and there was a potential to actually make some money off of them. Seems like every single movie is just a flop these days, and things are just not going well in the movie business at all. Wow, this really did not go well either. Speed.
For Speed, yeah.
Yeah, he
really bad.
Wasn't able to continue to rally there. Because the Lings ran by that bunker. Really nice handling of that from Queen. That wasn't a huge commitment by Speed, though. You know, he didn't go for 8 racks or anything. He just sent the first Marine across and made a bunker. It kind of slows things down a little bit, forces a lot of extra Lings, but I think Queen is probably reasonably happy with that trade. The fact that, you know, he just had to build a few extra Lings and ends up killing a few SCV, or kills the SCV, kills a couple of Marines, and forces the bunker. I mean, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, a Zerg on the ladder might have like overreacted to that or freaked out a little bit, but Queen is calm as a cucumber and just, you know, makes the absolute bare minimum to deal with that and not really be too bothered. I think he's reasonably comfortable with where the game is lining up to be at the moment, but equally, like, you know, Speed didn't really invest heavily in that, so we'll probably see a more or less standard game despite that pressure.
I think you're completely right that ladder Zerg might overreact, and we saw a slight overreaction from Queen initially. He started to pull his drones, but then he kind of realized, oh, you're not fully serious. You're not actually going for this bunker. Like, this is not something crazy. So he sends the drones back to mine. He just waits for the Lings. He's got a sucking colony coming up. This is a good response to seeing this many Marines moving out on the map, because you have to build quite a lot of Lings to stop this.
Yeah.
But one sunken colony will deal with insane amount of Marines without those medics to assist. It's kind of crazy how many you can actually hold off.
Yeah, I mean, if you do have stim, you can kind of kill the sunken, but only if there's no Ling support, because using stim without medics obviously brings your Marines down to very low HP. Against sunkens, they'll still take 2 hits to kill with a single stim, so if you can get the naked Marine down there against one sunken with a crisp stim timing, it's not the worst, but yeah, like you say, without the medics to soak up and heal, usually the sunkens like wouldn't hold off so well against the Marines, but naked Marines can hold up quite a few.
And because he made that one sunken colony and denied the naked Marine push, he was able to hit his mutilus timing nicely here. Has a good amount of mutas to try and dive in. He's looking at this little gap, but look at this. Speed has that one turret in the mineral line that's actually going to completely thwart this play by Queen.
Yeah, you need to have this kind of safety zone set up like this. And I love that Speed is not cutting corners, and he's already going into the armory. He knows, okay, he knows the one way he can get one over Queen, if he just like doesn't worry about the vessels for now, just tries to get air superiority. Let's just get a Valkyrie out and get the Marines for point defense. Then maybe I can get my army out on the map with a lower barracks count. I don't even need 4 barracks to get out on the map anymore. This could be just what Speed needs to get himself enough momentum in this game and shut down Queen, who hasn't been able to establish the 3rd base. He's just trying to get the game done with these 2 base mutas. If he doesn't manage to kill Speed, he's in trouble. And now these Valkyries put Queen on a little bit of a clock here.
Yeah, Queen is sending a drone down to bottom right. He will be taking a hatchery now, but it is pretty slow. This is not a 2.5 hatch either. It's not like he has a sizable, you know, economic engine behind this. This is just 2 hatch muta with a very big emphasis on just dealing damage. Man, he's bouncing so many glaives off this refinery, killing quite a few Marines with that. It's actually starting to snowball a little bit here. There's not that many Marines left, and if he gets in and kills these turrets, he's going to be able to take over the main base and potentially just win straight up from this. Dude, the bouncing off of that is crazy. You almost want to just kill your own refinery at this point.
Let it die or commit your Marines. Do one or the other. This half measure crap just ain't going to cut it, Speed. God damn, man. You're letting Queen play you like a fiddle. So many SCVs going down to these mutalists now. He's got a few Desperation Marines coming from the eastern flank. It's not going to amount to much. The Valkyrie finally pops. Hopefully it's not too little too late. He has got the mutalists kind of boxed in to this corner. He's really softened them up, but he's not going to be brave enough to commit to these. He knows that if he loses this Valkyrie, it's going to be over. He can't chase these down at all. He has to stay sewn up tight. Now, a stitch in time saves 9 for Speed. He needs to make sure that he doesn't make a single mistake. Everything is so flimsy for Speed right now.
This is some really good control. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but the Valkyrie, as it popped out, he, instead of sliding backwards, he made the Valkyrie slide forwards so that he could get 2 volleys off with that Valkyrie as it initially popped. But some Scourge underneath these mutas might be able to snipe this Valkyrie as it comes in. He's going to have perfect control. Nice job pulling back. Keeps them alive. Those Scourge go down, and the mutas are just going to have to run for it.
Yeah, he's going to be very careful. These first 2 Valkyries are your gold dust. As long as you don't lose these first 2 Valkyries, everything will probably still fall into place for you as a Terran player, as long as the other beaten track is still more or less intact. But it's really unfortunate for Queen, because he was looking so strong in this game, and now that these Valkyries are starting to establish themselves, there is a window here for Speed to still get something done. But he hasn't found this 3rd base yet of Queen. The fact that Queen has taken this slightly awkward 3rd base might save him, because it might be some time for Speed even knows where to attack.
3 Valkyries is getting to be kind of scary. The control is amazing for Speed, by the way. Look at the way he's sliding these Valkyries, and he's getting another slide on them, killing off all of these Scourge. This is some professional play for sure. Big spread on these mutas. He's gonna try and just spread and kill all of these Valkyries, but he's losing a lot of the mutas. They're doing their job. They're killing off all of those air units, securing that air domination. Great split there actually at the end. He will kill the last Valkyrie, but one more pops out, and it is going to be able to push back this last muta. There's a siege tank at the front. He's gonna siege up. The mutas are in such a low number that he can't just dive. He can't snipe this tank. I just saw the Valkyrie go down on the map. That was killed by some Scourge. He's got no more Valkyries left. Waiting on that tank siege mode. Just a few more seconds and that should be done.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. He lost his point defense Valkyrie. Now he can't get out here and have like just a Valkyrie on hold position, making this position seemingly immortal to the mutas. Now Queen can make more mutas to clean this up. This is not ideal for Speed at all. If only he didn't lose that Valkyrie to the Scourge. He didn't tell it to come back afterwards. The Scourge eventually came in and cleaned that up. Really unfortunate stuff. Speed, though, with the tank has some glimmer of hope. Another Valkyrie comes in to try and save the day, to set up that point defense to prevent these mutalists from getting too much value. But but he's got quite a lot of mutas with +1 upgrade. 8 mutas here with some lurkers as well. But now that the Valkyrie's here, as long as he doesn't lose the Valkyrie, maybe he can make this work. But it takes a long time for a single tank to chew away at this. Hopefully this other tank can make it here.
Oh, the Valkyrie! Oh my gosh, I thought he was gonna lose it there. That was so close. Does manage to pull it back at that last second. More sunken colonies are gonna come out, possibly in range of some of these Marines, but he's getting close to chewing through all of this. He does lose the tank though. Oh my gosh, one more tank arrives just at the end, right as that first one goes down. Oh, the Valkyrie again. Oh my goodness, that Valkyrie just about going down. Oh, the Marines all end up dying though, and this last Valkyrie will eventually fall, it seems. Just with that control from the Mutalisk, he can come forward and deal with this last tank from speed. My god, was it close, but it looks like Queen holds.
This is wild stuff. It's 5 Mutalisk, 1 red HP with just 4 naked Marines. Finally with 1 more medic to come save the day. But only 2 tanks running tuck, tail, and run. This is crazy how close this game is. But now Queen has his 3rd gas online and he wasn't able to break him. So eventually Queen stabilizes. I don't know, Sam. I mean, he's pretty committed to this tank push. If speed can't get the job done, I think eventually Queen will be fine. But he has such a low drone count right now. He has to stabilize his economy a little bit, get a few more drones at this 3rd base, start to smooth out everything to go into this mid to late game phase, and I think he'll be okay. Maybe he can put on a little bit of counter pressure as well. There's only 1 or 2 Valkyries with mainly tanks here, not really a lot of AA.
Oh, am I going crazy? How many tanks does he need? We've got, oh, he's switching into mech. Oh my goodness, okay. So we're gonna do a full-on mech switch from this position. This is insane. Okay, Speed, let's see how this goes. Diving in on top of these turrets, just gonna go after it. Gotta take a good trade with the Valkyries. He cannot be losing these to the Scourge. He needs them to clean up all of these mutas at the end. He just doesn't have hardly any Marines to deal with these mutas, so he has to fight this properly. He cannot be losing these. Great, finally gets that shot off. He finally gets the moving shot. He will push back those mutas for now, but he's still lost quite a bit. It's a rough game for Speed. Can he mech transition his way out of this rough spot? It's gonna be tough.
It's going to be very tough, Sam. We have an additional sunken coming up to potentially sandbag a tank push coming out of Speed, but there is so many tanks. If he can get across the map, you have to think that he's going to be successful. It's just might be challenging now for him to come across the map. He hasn't really got much air dominance, only like 2 or 3 Valkyries. Okay, with 3 Valkyries, maybe he can ward off enough of these Muta Scourge that he can start to push across the map. Has enough of a Goliath count now that maybe he has enough life in this army. He has to just be really cautious about a counterattack. These lurkers can run in the back door and just snipe all of his SCVs if he's not paying attention.
That would be absolutely insane. This move out just auspiciously timed for Queen. He's gonna come flying in, see the natural and that how empty it is, and he's immediately, I think, gonna pull the trigger on bringing these lurkers forward. A scan goes down. He sees the front. He's gonna siege up over at the natural Queen. I don't know if he has what it takes to hold on over at this front. He's built a lot of sunken colonies to try and sandbag this push for as long as possible, but he hasn't pulled the trigger on sending in those lurkers to the natural. I think he missed his window.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go for that now. He will just keep those lurkers there for what their initial purpose. Oh, he's moving them. I think they were initially there just to delay a 3rd going up, but now he's repositioning them. Oh, he might catch a few precious Valkyries, but I don't think he's going to make enough connections to kill any. Just managed to connect with 1, but not enough to do the deed. Trying to sandbag this as much as possible is Queen, but I'm not sure this is going to hold. There's just so many tanks, like we were saying earlier. He's chewing through this wall much faster than I think Queen anticipated. Defiler Mount's not even finished. All the Sunkens are dead, saying this is not looking good for Queen.
Oh, he's making his way into the natural, bringing those lurkers to bear. However, there are going to be more tanks out soon, and just having the tanks here at the natural, he should be able to stop this. He's going to spread and split these Goliaths, try to take the fight with the lurkers, pick off as many of them as he can, just slowly backing up, waiting for a tank to come. The Marines are here, they're stimmed up and ready to go, but the hatchery falls. He doesn't even need to take this engagement. He's already done the damage.
Oh, this is crazy. I think Queen can't handle it anymore. And with the point defense of these 4 Valkyries, these Mutalisks can't provide the kind of value that is necessary. And now he's breaking out pretty cost efficiently with only Goliaths. I mean, if Goliaths are easily countering the lurkers, usually Goliaths in low numbers have a little bit of a hard time against the lurker contains. So that's a kind of sign of the times there, unfortunately, for Queen. Not even able to get anything done by slowing down the progress with a lurker contain. Even didn't even need a siege tank to get out of that. So not looking good for Queen. Now on these 2 bases, finally we'll have Dark Swarm ready in just a moment here, but it's too little too late. Defiler with the Dark Swarm going to be coming out now, but he has already lost his expansion, so he needs to get these tanks out though. He can't afford to lose his units for free still. Speed still needs to play the game to close this out.
He's doing a fantastic job. I wasn't a believer, I'll admit, Shun. Wasn't a believer in the mech transition at that point in the game. After the failed tank push, like, okay, I guess you just keep building tanks? What? keep going. Go Valkyrie tank Goliath on 1 base, or 2 base, excuse me. It seemed impossible. Oh my gosh, wait a second. He's gonna hold position lurker underneath all of these tanks. Can he kill absolutely everything with these lurkers? It looks like he's gonna clear up a lot of this, but I don't think it's enough. He kills so many Marines. He kills a bunch of tanks. But there's still enough to push forward here for speed. I guess there's no more scan, I guess? No scan. So he can't actually deal with that. He will be able to, however, come into the natural and just stop this base from ever coming up.
I mean, he has got defilers, so he can technically sandbag for a long time using lurkers on the Dark Swarm and forcing irradiates, because you can't kill a lurker on the Dark Swarm without irradiate or fire bats. So yeah, maybe there's some hope for Queen here. If he can somehow stop this hatchery from dying, never make a mistake with these defilers, there is a chance somehow Queen can win this game. But Speed will try and take out the 3rd base now as a compromise. But if Queen can respond to this compromise and there's a Nidus set up from the main to the 3rd already, then maybe the Queen can win this. And there is.
He does have that main base Nidus. That's actually been a trend that I've seen lately for Zerg players, is going for the Nidus in the main base, and it's actually paying off really, really big in this game. The fact that he's got that. I'm gonna go ahead and consume. Bring these lurkers down the ramp. Oh no! Well, that might just be the nail in the coffin. Yeah, he brings in the vultures and kills all the defilers. Like, we cannot afford to build more defilers right now. There's no way.
Yeah, it's your job as a Terran player traditionally in TVZ to keep the pressure on and lay siege to the Zerg and eventually wait for them to make a mistake like that. But you have to keep the pressure on non-stop to eventually find a hole like that where the Zerg has just not quite got enough energy to Dark Swarm and nothing to consume, and you're not really paying attention. Slide in with a couple of vultures and suddenly your day is ruined. Queen, unfortunately, slinking further and further behind. 58 supply to 113 of speed. This mech transition has worked out great for him. 1-1-1 style into Valkyrie, then into mech has worked out in spades, like paying its dividends. And plus, like, I don't know, speed is almost making like mech transitions look trendy again. Like, you might see a little bit more of this style from Terran players as they get cockier and cockier with their range of potential. They might start to go for these kinds of styles more often.
Speed has 200 APM more than Queen at most points in this game, especially when he was microing that vulture in the main base of Queen while macroing back at home. He had 480 APM. Absolutely insane. This guy is crazy. And this game is fantastic, Shun. This is a classic.
He can't let the bus blow up, right? He's got to keep going.
I mean, not in the fact, like, this is not the way that TVZ is classically played. I'm just saying that this is just pressure. This is craziness, back and forth. You'll love to see it. GG is called finally by Queen. He taps out, and we have our champions. Terran taking week 1. Speed putting out the performance of the night, I would say. Maybe YSC Royal was possibly better, but Speed Queen was an absolute treat.
Oh, absolutely. And Speed making up for JYJ's lack of performance as well. I mean, Speed is like the gift that keeps on giving. The up-and-comer, I mean, my eyes are on this guy. Like, I mean, as Sharp as well, he's an up-and-coming Terran. Both of them are both modern styles, both much more aggressive and multitask oriented in their unit control, so much more aggressive with their vultures. But Speed especially, he's come a long way in such a short time. I can't wait to see him in more games.
What can we say about this first week of Season 5, 2024? It's a week or a season that we were not expecting to see, but I am so happy that we're just going straight on into it. We were both spitballing about like what's the reason behind this surprise season. What was the final conclusion on that? We're still unsure.
Well, I don't know exactly, but I mean, my take was that maybe they're just trying to squeeze in an extra season every other year, because they can't afford to do that 2 years running, right? They can't do it like 5 per year, because then they'd run out of time, because this season's going to run into the next year. So they might be trying to find a way of squeezing in 9 seasons in 2 years instead of just 8. So you might every other year have an extra season. That would be my take if they want to go for this scheduling. I don't know what will happen if that's not the case. Your take was that they might just be reducing the time difference between seasons, so we're going to not have those week breaks as much as we were previously, and maybe only on holidays. So who knows what's going to happen, Sam?
I'm personally just excited to cast more Brood War Shin. I think it's just a great thing to see. My feeling is that there's more interest in KCM. It's just been so great lately. It's been so much fun. The games have been so awesome. More sponsors may be coming their way, and so they're able to, fund another extra season. Why not? Go for it. We'd love to see it. We're going to be here to support it and watch it and enjoy it. No matter what they end up doing, but especially if they want to put out more Brood War content.
I mean, with weeks like this, if this is how this is a new thing that they're trying out, and already week 1 is looking like this. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy. Whatever they want to do, just keep putting out weeks like that, and I'm going to be happy all day and night. Yeah,
good, very strong showings from YSC and Speed today. Also, Gamo. All the players who are, kind of what we would have. Well, I guess Speed's not really at that lower tier anymore. He used to be, like, maybe like 2 years ago, Speed was, or 1 year ago, even Speed was at that lower tier. The same, we might put him on the same level as like a YSC or a Gamo, but he's really proven himself to be a cut above the rest. And maybe these 2 other players are on their way to that position, but it's just been a great showing out of all 3 of them. Really excited to see those guys shine. The future of Brood War is bright, Shin, with players on the come up all the time and still committed to the game and improving themselves endlessly.
I mean, the only disappointment of the evening for me was Mini's tactical blunder. I don't agree with him committing to on Monty Hall when Mini was bottom right and he's attacking into Saxry on the top lane. I really do feel like he should have obfuscated that attack and just baited with the Zealots, and then sent and as soon as he pulls the Hydras out of position from the bottom lane, he sends the shuttle and Corsairs across lanes, attacks the left-hand lane with the Reaver, then killing the Hydras coming through the tight choke of the mineral the mineral wall, and then he's killing overlords, and then even if somehow he is able to clean up the defense and kill the shuttle and Reaver like he did on the right lane, he's then out of position on the left hand lane. He can't launch a quick counter attack to Mini, and Mini can still stabilize even though he's only on 1 robo going into 3rd. So I really don't like the tactical decisions from Mini that game, but other than that, I was really blown away by this week.
That mean that game with Mini was your biggest disappointment, Shin? I thought you were gonna say it was the 6 pool. Or the 4 pool, you mean? The 4 pool that failed.
No. That didn't happen. What are you talking about? That was a fever dream. What are we talking about, Sam?
Shin had his eyes closed during that match. He's gonna continue to advocate for the 4 pool going forward. That's my prediction. All right, all jokes aside, though, guys, thank you so much for watching. We're happy to be back, and we're going to continue to bring you more epic weeks of KCM. So make sure to subscribe, give a like, head down to the description, click all the links, join the Discord. Go subscribe to Shun, subscribe to KCM as well. Give him a couple likes on some of his videos. Leave a comment or two. Show him some love. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.